Thank you. Please rise and recite the council prayer. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for your direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Mayor Caulfield. Here. Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Here.
Councilor Lindsay.
Here.
Councilor Armin Mercier. Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Here.
9 present.
The chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Alvin Jr. Lutkus, a very dear friend of my family, brother-in-law to my daughter. Jr. was honorably discharged from the United States Army, having served in the Vietnam War as a private first class from 1966 until May of 1970. He was employed as a paver for Ideal Paving. Jr. was a member of the American Legion Post 87. In addition to his beloved wife, Terry, of 27 years, he leaves behind 4 daughters and 1 son, 11 grandchildren, also 2 sisters and 4 brothers. We will miss him dearly. And I would also like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Thomas F. Murphy, Sr., who passed away on Sunday, November 23rd. He was married for 44 years to his wife and best friend, Helena, who passed away in 1986. Mr. Murphy was a veteran of World War II. He served as a lecturer and trainer for recruits. After the war ended, he returned to Lowell and was hired as a teacher, where he later was appointed freshman advisor and several years after was named to the position of submaster at Lowell High School, of which he served for 22 years. He retired in 1977. At the 150th anniversary of Lowell High School in 1981, the cafeteria was dedicated to him. He was a communicant of St. Margaret Church and a member of the National and Massachusetts Retired Teachers Association, of which he also served as president. Mr. Murphy is survived by 5 children: Thomas Murphy Jr., Gary Murphy, Kathleen Arcasian, Gregory Murphy, and State Representative Kevin Murphy. He is also survived by his 6 grandchildren, as well as 4 great-grandchildren. I knew Mr. Murphy, and they don't come any better than him. Such a gentleman he is, and he will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Mercier. The chair would like to recognize Councilor Bill Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Daniel Gannon. Daniel Gannon was served in the Lowell Police Department and retired as a captain in the Lowell Fire Department from Ladder 4 in the Centerville section of the city. He served in the Army Air Corps during World War II as a tail gunner with Bomber Group 91. He leaves his wife, Terry, of 60 years. They celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary earlier this year. Also 5 sons, 2 daughters, 2 brothers, 4 sisters, 16 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren. Mr. Gannon was also the brother of the late John Barry Gannon, a Lowell firefighter who died in 1986. He was dedicated to his family and his community, served in many veterans organizations, and I'm told that Mr. Gannon was one of his favorite pastimes was watching war movies, which was one of my father's favorite pastimes too. And he was a good man, lived a life in service to his community and family, and will be sorely missed.
I would just like to say that Mr. Gannon and Mr. Murphy were outstanding public servants, but they were also ambassadors to our city. it was recognized more than once. Let us stand and have a moment of silence with Dr. Chambers. Street people. Thank you. May they rest in peace. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, the mayor has 2 citations to present, one to an outstanding citizen and employee, the other to an outstanding organization that reaches out and helps people, and they've been doing it for over 40 years. I'd like to present a citation, the first citation. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby honors Bo James for his heroic act in assisting Mayor Caulfield on October 23, 2008, in aiding a woman who was being assaulted on Pine Street. Bo deserves a great commendation for his courageousness as he came to help and the others fled the scene. The entire City of Lowell joins the Department of Public Works in expressing the deepest gratitude to Bo for having served the community well, given his 25th day of November by the year 2008 by Mayor Caulfield. And I would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercier, who has a few things to say. Mr. James, why don't you go right to the podium, please?
I can't find my notes, but it is very important to say that standing before us is a very extraordinary gentleman who holds five belts, 5 titles, the featherweight, the junior featherweight, the lightweight, junior lightweight, and tell us a little bit about this. This is unbelievable. This guy is unbelievable.
No, I was the first man in New England history who held 5 New England titles at the same time. I held the featherweight title, junior lightweight, junior welterweight, and welterweight titles all at the same time. And nobody ever taught me for it. There's only one guy, it was Andy Callahan. He had 3 at one time. And that was back in 1835.
Plus, he was the youngest to have held one of those
The
titles
featherweight,
at being
I was
18 years old. So we're very proud of you, Bo, no doubt about it. You can be my bodyguard anytime.
I would like to
very
say
much.
that that incident happened so fast, and Mr. James responded quickly, and someone said, Bo James is here. That's when everyone else decided to flee the scene. So thank you, Bo, and you're not only a great employee of the City of Lowell, you're a great gentleman and a
Thank you very much,
humanitarian.
Fred.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. And if Gene Walsh would come to the podium. This is an organization that's very dear to my heart, and it's very dear to everyone's hearts on the City Council and in the city. And this is a citation, be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby honors remarkable, active, resilient adults. Upon the celebration of their 40th anniversary, RARA was founded by some strong-willed parents who wanted to provide more opportunities for the developmentally challenged children. RARA began as a day program, expanded to evenings and weekends, and has fostered a sense of community among its active members. RARA has had 40 years of success due to the hard work and determination of their staff, volunteers, and most importantly, their members. The entire City of Lowell is proud to honor RARA for their commitment to the community, given this 25th day of November 2008 by Mayor Caulfield, the entire City Council, and we're looking for another 40 years of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. On behalf of the RARA organization and all our members, we need to thank you in appreciation for 40 years and your support through the years. And one of our members, Alice Monahan, just say it.
Hello, my name is Alice Monahan. RARA needs to be raised to the hilt. As the country is in turmoil now, places like Rara need to be grown and established for many more years to come. Because the people with disabilities are the future now, so we have to work on getting more people in to help out. And I would deeply appreciate that if everybody pulls in, like places like Rara need to grow a lot more the way our country's going now. People with disabilities are going to be the backbone of our country.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you.
Thank you again. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Mayor and city councilors, may Rara grow.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting by Council Broderick, second by Council Elliott. All in favor of accepting the minutes and placing them on file, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The minutes have been accepted and placed on file. Moving on with the agenda, communications from city manager, responses to council motions. Anyone would like to respond? Councilor Kazanjian.
This is communications to the manager.
Communications from the
Yeah.
manager, yes.
As everybody knows, I think everybody's received a letter from Chancellor Mann on the arena. And what I'd like to do is, if it's possible, if we have enough time after the meeting, we can meet in executive session and discuss it and go over it instead of meeting and talking about it.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if Councilor Kazanjian is aware of a letter we received on our desk tonight asking for a special meeting. I don't know if you've received that, Alan?
I haven't heard about that I've heard about it. I haven't read it. The solicitor, I understand, has a communication on everyone's desk, and if you want to read it. November 25th, 2008, City Manager Bernard Lynch, Mayor Edward Caulfield, members of the City Council, regard request for a special meeting. Dear Mr. Manager, Mayor Caulfield, members of the City Council, I write on behalf of the Arena Commission. At the November 24th, 2008 Arena Commission meeting, a motion was made to call a special meeting with the Lowell City Council and the Arena Commission for the purpose of discussing ongoing negotiations between the City of Lowell and the university regarding a possible transfer of the arena. Accordingly, it is hereby requested by the Arena Commission, subject to approval by the City Council, that a special meeting be held regarding the status of such negotiations, as well as the overall status of the arena. Very truly yours, Christine P. O'Connor, City Solicitor. I think your request, Mr. Council Kazanjian, actually falls right in line with this particular communication. So if you'd like to expound on this.
Is there a date set that we're,
No,
can we get a date set?
We're working, based upon the council's acceptance of that, then we would move forward to set up a date that would meet the schedules of both bodies. I would also point out there's also another piece of correspondence on your desk from me outlining the points within the Chancellor's letter and giving you a little bit of background on the additional background on the negotiations with the university. I would also point out that, as I indicate in that letter, at 5 o'clock tonight, I received a phone call from the Chancellor reiterating his interest in maintaining the lease at the arena and not, he wanted to stress to me the university does not want the any transaction of taking over, by which they would take over the arena. And he indicated to me that President Wilson of the UMass system has written to him and confirmed that the university does not have any interest based upon the other issues that the university is now facing.
This phone call came today?
Yes.
We just got the letter yesterday.
The Chancellor's position is that his letter was very clear that the university is not interested in the arena.
That wasn't clear.
That's not the letter we received yesterday.
That wasn't,
Yes, it
Is
is. It is the letter you received yesterday.
it wasn't clear to me that that's what he wanted.
Me either.
I thought he was going to accept the arena for $1.
No, he says if you look, I understand the confusion. I had similar thoughts when I read it, but if you go to the very last sentence of his letter, that's where it actually states that he is not interested in the arena. He wants to have the lease stay in force in its entirety. Again, I'm just reporting what the Chancellor has indicated to me, and which matches up with the other conversations I've had with the Chancellor. And he's indicated that the letter to President Wilson was simply outlining his background on the negotiations that took place and the terms in which he at one point thought it would make sense for the university to have the arena.
Well, basically, the letter contradicts itself. I mean, at one point, he's saying he wants it for $1, then another point, he says he wants a 20-year lease. I mean, it just...
That's how I take it, and it was hand-delivered to my home with everyone else, so.
I do think a meeting with the Arena Commission is a very good.
Absolutely, and I've mentioned a number of times that we should meet with the Arena Commission. I think it's very important to find out, get the input from them. They're there in the day-to-day operation, which we know nothing about. I think it's very important to meet with the Arena Commission.
And I think, as I point out in my letter to the council, I think some important things are taking place with the Arena Commission, myself, and the management of the arena. I think a meeting such as that would be very helpful. And it would be with the Arena Commission in its entirety and the City Council in its entirety.
Well, I think the sooner we do that, the better off we're going to be, and this way here, we're going to know what, I think was a week for this RFP going out for the piece of property.
Well,
Is
I
that
imagine
correct?
that would be talked about tonight, but we would, based upon whatever happens tonight with council vote, we would be prepared to start talking through some of those issues and going forward with the RFP.
Okay.
Council Broderick, then Council Elliott.
Thank you. I think it's a good idea. I think hopefully the Arena Commission has done their research and their due diligence and can bring some information and enlighten us as to what they're doing and what they recommend. But I assume now that it would be a public meeting?
That's correct.
If a combined meeting would be a public, okay. I support that.
Yeah. Council Elliott?
Well, I read the letter. I read the letter to sort of outline the terms that the Chancellor and or the university would be interested in pursuing. And at the same time, I understand the Chancellor's point of view. They have a lease that is in place, and they will pursue that lease at this point because there are no other options from the university's perspective. Or there actually is a lease in place. They're 10 years through it.
That's correct.
So I'm sure the Chancellor is naturally protecting his, his organization and his interest, and where the city's protecting ours. So I thought the letter sort of laid out in very specific terms most, if not all, of the items that we have been discussing over the last, and I'm going to presume that you have had those discussions, that you've had private negotiations over the course of the last, I don't know, months.
12
months. So while I can understand there's some confusion, I also understand, where the Chancellor's coming from, and, we're all trying to move forward on this. I still would like to be able to move forward on this. I know you heard from the Chancellor, but, if we're going to pursue, I think we should have a meeting with the Arena Commission. We've been asking for that for quite some time, and it's a good thing that we're going to have it. I also think the Chancellor and his staff should also be at that meeting. I presume, he has representation anyway, but considering, what is before us, I think that we should continue to pursue these negotiations or discussions, or whatever we want to call them. We have some dire fiscal issues coming before us, and I maintain that, and we don't have to get into this elaborate discussion about it. We've had a lengthy discussion about it, but not pursuing this, I still think it's in the best interest of the city. It's going to continue to be maintained as an arena. It looks like the city is going to get everything that we're looking for, and some. So I would welcome the Arena Commission and hope this will continue. I can understand frustration on both part, but at the end of the day, I think it's well worth it. So.
Manager Lynch, then Councilor Lindsay.
Councilor, I certainly understand that sort of several councilors now have mentioned that the letter is, I don't think it was quite as clear as, although after I spoke with the Chancellor and he directed me to that last line, I understood what he was saying, and it did certainly match up with what he has said and written in previous correspondence. In my correspondence to you that I worked on today after reading his letter yesterday, and then updating it after 5 o'clock, I reiterate that I think the discussions were quite fruitful, and I indicated that to the Chancellor, but the Chancellor again indicated that that the UMass system believes that it doesn't, they have other priorities that they need to work on. But I certainly think the meeting with the Arena Commission will be very helpful.
Councilor Lindsay, and then Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the contract with SMG, has that contract been signed? That's already been done?
That contract is in place.
Okay.
And the reporting is taking, we owe you the reports that they provided us. I believe we gave you a copy of the contract. We'll get you another copy of that if you haven't received it. We'll get you a copy if you haven't received it. Okay, we'll make sure that. And then we owe you the financials, where we've asked SMG to put those in a form that we can get those out. And Mr. Moses and I were going over some of those financial reports the other day to get those out to you. And we'll get those certainly in time for the meeting with the Arena Commission.
So, and when you say financials, is that regarding the upcoming events, or?
We asked them, in this contract, we asked them to make sure that they provided the Arena Commission. There's much stringent reporting requirements now, and it includes specifics on their finances, detailed information on their finances, as well as activity reports on what events are upcoming over the foreseeable future.
Now, would that include an organizational chart that exists there with salaries attached?
We do have the salaries. We do have the salaries of all the staff over there now. That's something that we had never had before.
Okay, so we would be able to get a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Fairly soon?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I reviewed Chancellor Meehan's letter, I too took it as the conditions to which or on which he would actually consider accepting transfer of the arena to the university. Today, in late afternoon, when we learned that he was not actually moving in that direction, and that pointed to the last paragraph regarding the 20-year lease, my question through the mayor to either the manager or the solicitor, he talks about seeking legal counsel in order to enforce all provisions of the lease. Is it your opinion at this time that we are on firm ground, that we are not in any way in violation of that lease at the present time? Because when he was at the microphone back a couple of weeks ago, he implied that there were certain things over there that we were not doing or not meeting certain obligations. And again, I don't want to get into a position where, in their opinion anyway, it becomes a contest over what provisions are not being currently upheld under the 20-year lease, or the remaining 10 years on the 20-year lease.
I'd ask the solicitor to address that.
Sure. As you had indicated, there are 10 years remaining on the lease. There was a modification to the lease, you'll probably recall, about a year ago, in which the city and the Arena Commission both voted to give more favorable lease conditions to the university, namely that the university now enjoys 100% of revenues on all the concessions. It can sell alcohol at events subject to its discretion and proper licensing. It also gets a share of advertising revenue, 50%, and also the council had voted to waive any fee that had been provided by the university in the amount of $50,000 annually that went towards a sort of an ICE manager. Apart from that, as far as I know, there's been nothing specific that the Arena Commission has been put on notice from the arena or anybody else. There has obviously been issues with respect to the ICE. Those have been addressed in a satisfactory condition. There are some ongoing issues with respect to lighting, but But again, nothing amounting to any sort of breaking of a lease. And certainly, there's been no contemplation of in any way by the Arena Commission or discussion of not fulfilling its obligations towards the lease. In fact, the actions of the council and the Arena Commission have gone beyond what were originally bound by that lease.
Thank you. And it goes without saying, as I understand it, there are representatives from the university on the Arena Commission, so they will certainly be in the room when we meet. Thank you.
What I want to know is, does Marty have someone planted in this room right now? That's what I'm concerned about.
Right over there.
Only you would have thought of that. Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think my questions have been answered in the discussion here. I'm fully supportive of a meeting with the Arena Commission, so to the extent that it's Councilor Kazanjian's motion, I vote in favor.
Anyone else like to?
I would just like to...
Armin Mercier.
Again, this stuff was given to us tonight, so I haven't had an opportunity to look at your letter as it cross-examines him, and he cross-examines you, and it's like a tennis match. He says, you said, he says, you said, and that's, I think, is detrimental to anything that's going on. As far as I'm concerned, we've had a great partnership with the university. We need to continue that partnership in some form, some way, not only because of the arena, but many other things that are going on in the city. And the last thing I want to see is that we head down to a road where the arena, not the arena, but the chancellor, feels that that partnership is not materializing enough, and that it'll damage, I think, the future prospect of the success of the city and the arena. In the letter I'm reading now from Christine O'Connor, it says that the special meeting be held regarding the status of the negotiations, as well as the overall status of the arena. Now, the status of the negotiations is pretty obvious, pretty clear. It's at a stalemate. The manager has one position, the chancellor has another, and I'd like to see that stalemate broken some way, somehow, and get people back at the table, because I still firmly believe that the salvation of that arena for the benefit of the city rests with some way having it transferred to the university based on the outline of what the university would do. Now, I know there are certain items there that are questionable as far as the manager is concerned, but I find it hard to believe that that can't be resolved somehow. So if we're going to have a meeting, and I agree with that we should have a meeting with the Arena Commission, as long as the Arena Commission is aware of the status of the negotiations that we all are aware of right now. And again, there's a different tone tonight based on the manager's letter that I haven't read yet, so I don't know what tone that is taken. So we have to get off the dime here. Yeah. We have to recognize that there's an important piece of negotiations that must continue to take place some way, somehow. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck with that arena and all of its deficit, and that's going to be a burden on the city of Lowell and the taxpayers that is unbelievable. And when we hear the potential of a hotel on that site, I don't know where this person is coming from, but one only needs to look at the economy, one only needs to look at the hotel we have in town, and there must be some deep pockets here that thinks that the future of the hotel is in the making here. I find that hard to believe. I really find it hard to believe that someone out there is going to build a hotel on that site in this economy. Again, the results of what the university would accept as a payment for the arena, some way, somehow, will far outweigh the potential taxes on that site. There will be no taxes when the new owner takes over and cleans the site up. The only taxes will come if they build something there. And let's face it, you know, I think a very tough sell to me that someone in this day and age, based on Lowell's reputation as it relates to the hotel they presently have, can make a hotel work on that site. And I just want to make sure that we don't reach a point, for whatever reason we have, that we lose that relationship with the university and the chancellor as it relates to continuing to be a partner with the city of Lowell. I don't know how we arrive at that, but I don't think right now it looks good, based on the letters that are going back and forth, some in the media, some are not in the media, and now this letter tonight that I'm sure we'll read about in the paper tomorrow. I haven't read it. I don't like to get things at the last minute. I can't react to it. And I understand that there was no other choice on the part of the manager because he got his at the last minute too. So a meeting with the Arena Commission, I think, will make an awful lot of sense. The Arena Commission is represented by people from the Chancellor's office in some form, some way. But I just don't want anybody to lose sight of the fact of how important this is to the city. Because as we look at the arena's costs, as we look at what's coming down the road for capital improvement, as we look at the SMG's contract, this does not bode well for the city taxpayers if we continue along this road. So I just hope that everybody bears in mind that the first and foremost interest are the taxpayers of the city of Lowell and maintaining an arena that will be an asset as it is right now, some way, somehow. That's where my concerns are lying, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Manager Lynch?
Just if I may, Councilor, I think you'll find that the letter that I've prepared is basically just an outline of some of the issues that we discussed, and takes each of the Chancellor's points one by one, and it gives a little bit of background in terms of whether that was how we left negotiations. We had a deal. We had an agreement in principle, and for a framework of an agreement back in September, but unfortunately the university was not able to move forward with that deal as it was constructed at that time.
Well, you have to admit that the deal ran amok when you all of a sudden put out an RFP for the site that was part of the deal.
It was in trouble before then. It was communicated, and that's why I came forward. I notified the Chancellor that I was going to come forward with that, with the understanding that this wasn't precluding moving forward. In fact, all putting the RFP out is keeping the developer interested. And I do think that this developer is legitimate. The developer is very serious about, or has certainly been serious about investing in the city of Lowell. And I certainly don't think we should. This is their business. They've done these types of projects before, and I don't think we should certainly discourage them in any way from investing here in the city. But I can assure you that, and I think you'll find this in my correspondence, and even with the chancellors, I don't think it's necessarily a he said type of relationship. I think we had an agreement. The university had to move away from portions of that agreement. That's understandable. And I certainly think we should continue to explore that, with the understanding too, as I point out, that I think that there are some positive things happening with the arena that we should have to take into consideration. Certainly there are challenges, but I think that discussions, and I certainly think that the university. I've always been a big proponent of the university as a graduate of the institution. I certainly support the institution. I even go beyond that with the notion of the university and the city's relationship and partnership. And I can assure you that I fully support that, and anything I can do to promote that is something I'm interested in doing. So, but I think I think the meeting with the Arena Commission, I think Councilor Kazanjian is correct, that will go a long way towards addressing many of the issues that are out there.
Thank you. Fine. Councilor Kazanjian, and then
Thank you, Mayor.
Broderick.
I'm still confused with this letter. I mean, the Chancellor lists different things where he's gonna pay us so much for the arena, so much for the land. He's gonna turn some land over from the university to the city. I'm just confused. I just feel that this is what he's offering. Why would he put it in the letter if he wasn't gonna offer that? I just don't understand it. And
I can only.
I totally agree with Councilor Mercier. I think that we're losing over $1 million a year at this facility. We have a 2-year contract we just signed with SMG that I feel that's not going to get any better. And also we have the Devils for 1.5 to 2 years. So pretty much nothing's changed, or it's going to change in the next 2 years. So we're going to lose approximately $3 million in the next 2 years. And if we do get a new management company in here, it's going to take another year or two to get things organized and get it on track. And by then, we're going to be jumping right into capital improvements for another $3 or $5 million. So we're going to be arguing the same point in 3 to 5 years like we did on the wastewater treatment. Where are we getting the money? We got to raise taxes, this and that. So we have a lot to look at here. And like I said, I just sent this letter I looked at yesterday, and I just don't understand why he would put things on the table here if he wasn't going to offer it to us. I mean, that's confusing to me, so.
Well, obviously, Councilor, I can't speak for the Chancellor. I can just tell you what he has written to me and communicated to me verbally as recently as 5 o'clock tonight that
Okay.
he's, and I have not seen it, but there is, according to the Chancellor, there is a letter from President Wilson, again, indicating that the university has other issues that are far more important to them, given the financial conditions they have, than the arena.
Yeah, this is
So-
within a 24-hour period. It's not like it's been weeks. It's just, it's,
And again, the Chancellor's position to me, and I think he's, indicated this to others as well, is that he believes that letter was very clear that he was not interested in the arena. But I understand the confusion because that was my reading of it as well, as
I mean,
yours.
if he wasn't interested, why would he put an offer to buy the facility and the land?
I think he probably should have put at the top of the letter his
We're not
last
interested.
sentence. So,
Right. Could we, before we have that meeting with the Arena Commission, could we get all that, the financials ahead of time?
Yes.
Could we get a list of of whatever the SMG has listed for events, salaries like Counselor Lindsay had mentioned, and profit and loss statement, whatever we can get for financials would be really good for us. And
absolutely.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. I agree. I think everybody here agrees we need to cut that deficit. If we can eliminate it, that would be wonderful. But even if we give away the arena, we still have $360,000 or $80,000 a year, a note to pay, a bond to pay. But in any event, one of the difficulties that I see here in the whole negotiation process is it's being done somewhat in public. We're bidding against ourselves here, folks. Every time the Chancellor comes in and says, maybe, and pulls back, we're offering more. If we really want to do what's best for the taxpayers, I think we need to sit back, find out what the Arena Commission's come up with, find out what improvements can be made, look at the entire picture. We're kind of in the dark in terms of what did they find at the arena. I know everybody, I'm sure, has heard in the street, we've had no control over the budget over there at SMG. So that's a huge thing. When we're writing the check, it's an open credit card over there. So I think that we can, as we're tightening our belts, and all the department heads are tightening their belts here in the city, school department and everybody else, that, it's going to be incumbent upon the Arena Commission. I think that's what they're coming in to tell us, hopefully, that they're going to have SMG tighten their belts. And I think we're going to see it. We're going to see some of the fat trimmed over there. And I'm not suggesting they're not running it properly. I don't know any more than anyone else. But I think that we're going to see that there can be improvements. I don't envision that we're going to eliminate the debt, but I know we have other buildings in this city that we spend money on that serve a purpose as well. I don't think $1.4 million flies. I mean, quite frankly, we can't afford it. But we need to cut it. We need to do something with the land next to it. I wholeheartedly agree that we need to continue negotiations. If something can be put together that's in the best interest of the city, then that's wonderful. And I think part of the best interest of the city is not just dollars and cents. Councilor Mercier made a good point, and I think everybody here realizes it, is we don't want to strain a relationship with the university. I think that, we have to maintain a good relationship with the university going forward, and that's going to be a consideration. We want the university to maintain the relationships it has with all of the nonprofits and all the organizations in the city. It's a vital, it's a key institution in the city, and the participation of the university is vital. Just like Middlesex Community College, we have to, we have to work together, but we also have to be willing to go forward and find out, where is the end zone here, and what are we shooting for? Because if we can't be negotiating with a non-existent entity or a moving target, because it's not going to work. We're giving up more every time we talk about it, and I don't think that's in the best interest of the city. I think that it should go back to the manager and the chancellor, hopefully continue negotiating quietly and be productive, but with the understanding that we need to have a good partnership with the university. If it's not the right time for the university, then maybe we look at other avenues of reducing the cost, increasing revenues over there in whatever manner we can. And if it's an RFP, whatever the process is, I think we have to at least do our due diligence. The chancellor certainly did his. I think we represent the taxpayers. We have to do our due diligence before we give it away, sell it, or anything else, because there may be a better route. And maybe that at the end of the day, we're looking to just say we can't afford to keep it. and we do give it up. I don't know, but I think that we have to get this information, and I think that we have to also stop bidding against ourselves, because every time he pulls away, the chancellor pulls away, we're throwing more out there to bring him back, and I think that we're hurting the city's position. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
I think that's a good point. Where are we? Where is this, what is the city's position? I've seen the chancellor's, and then we did just get, a communication tonight that I haven't seen, but I think that would be important for us to know. Where are we at? Negotiations are, it seemed that your negotiations had progressed to the point where the land went out to bid. And it seems that what we have learned, and I think we all voted to send that out 3 years ago, by the way, not knowing the importance of that piece of land to the arena in terms of either parking and or a practice rink. That's what I have learned through this whole process, that there is a clear correlation between that piece of land, putting a practice rink, and using the rest for either parking and or hotel or some development. But they seem to go hand in hand if that arena is going to be viable from here on out. Maybe before the meeting, it'll be important to say, or maybe that this letter does contain it, Mr. Manager. I haven't seen it at all whatsoever, but I do think it's important that we progress. And, we can look at revenues. We can look at cutting expenses. $1.4 million, $1.2 million. I don't see. We've been looking at this for forever and a day, trying to figure out how to make it not be a burden to the taxpayers, to the tune of $10 million plus. I guess not only should, we've looked at every structural deficit in the city, and we're going to continue to. Whether it was the trash or, everything from soup to nuts, the wastewater, we're creating revolving funds, parking. We're trying to take these burdens off the taxpayer, and this is one. I don't see how we can reduce this deficit, clearly eliminate it. But what I do know is that it's going to come down to this point next year. I mean, I think we're all looking at national economic indicators, and everybody's cutting. Everybody's preparing for what's coming in the future. Unemployment the highest in Massachusetts. Being able to relieve 1.2 million from this budget when we're looking at, we're looking at layoffs next year. If all things, if the trend continues, the state's looking at a $2.3 billion budget. That's going to translate into local aid reductions. Let's face it. No one's saying that the sky is falling, but by the same token, we have to be prepared. Everyone else is making cuts, 10% cuts. So I'm looking at this. We're going to fund an arena that we could have, or hopefully we can, transfer it to the university, still have an arena in the city, still have representation on that board, still ensure that it's an entertainment venue for the city, or we're going to be laying off police officers, DPW workers, firefighters. I know what the decision is, and having that deficit just does not make any sense to me. We have a viable entity. I think he's addressed all of the issues that we have been looking for, and we need to, I think Councilman Mercer's right, bring something to the table from both sides to say, this is where we're at, this is where the university's at, we voted up or down. But I happen to think that land was the deal breaker that sort of sent this in the wrong direction. So has the arena discussed this at all whatsoever, Mr. Manager? The land and the impact on the university and the whole development of that parcel? And is that what this meeting is about? I'm sorry.
They have had some discussions. They haven't taken an official position on the land. That hasn't really been a topic. I'm not sure if it was 3 years ago either. I think certainly, I think what the Arena Commission is interested in doing, because there's been so much discussion about this of late, they'd like to weigh in and report to the council and the public at large some of what their findings are, particularly with the new SMG contract and with the new financial reporting that's now in place. I think it's important to point out, as several councils have already pointed out, that important strides are being made in bringing that enterprise under control. Is there an absolute answer for that? I'm not sure. But I think there's certainly progress being made that wasn't being made before. I think, Councilor, you pointed out that the city has, gone scouring through its operations to look for savings, and I think we've done a good job of that over the last number of years of trying to do that. And I'm sure it's been a tradition here in the city for a long time to try to do that. But I think that there have been limitations in the arena. I think that if anything, I'd have to, and I point this out in my correspondence, and I apologize that it got out to you just today and you haven't had a chance to read it yet. I did want to be able to have a response for the council based upon the Chancellor's letter that he sent out to everyone and they received yesterday. As Councilor Broderick indicated, I don't think it's necessarily the best situation to be doing all this bargaining out in the open like this, because we don't have an opportunity for the Chancellor and I to try to work through some of the issues. And it's unfortunate that it's happened like this, but I did feel that his most recent letter to President Wilson outlined a number of aspects of the agreement that we had, but it didn't have everything. And I wanted the council to know exactly where we were with our agreement back in September. So that's why I put my letter out. Otherwise, I frankly wouldn't have done that. I did want to be able to respond to the Chancellor in that regard. And I think that there are great similarities with where we are. I think that, but unfortunately, there are some sticking points that we couldn't come to an agreement on, or else the deal fell. The deal was backed away from by the university, and that was before the land RFP came out. That was well before that. It was a month and a half before that. With regards to the 3 acres of land, I understand that the Chancellor has indicated the preference for parking there and a practice rink. That's the Chancellor's perspective. It may be the City Council's perspective, but I don't think it's everyone's perspective. I think that the city 3 years ago or thereabouts made a decision to put that out to bid. I think it was always in the master plan for the city to have that developed as with a use that was compatible and complementary to the arena. And that's all that, I think that makes a tremendous amount of sense. I think the Chancellor thinks it makes a tremendous amount of sense. He does see a need for a practice rink. I think that's a discussion that the Arena Commission has had they've had some discussions on that, and I think there's certainly more that can occur there. But in any event, I think that, I do think that continued discussions make sense. At the same time, the Chancellor has made it clear, once again, that that letter is getting out of the discussions. And I can't explain why he wrote the letter the way he did. I can just tell you what he's communicated to me.
Is there some reason why the city would want to keep this arena based upon the deficit that we face every year, knowing the obstacles to making money that we have realized through our efforts, as well as, probably most importantly, the fact that the city hasn't put any money into it, and we're facing several $1 million of capital improvements sometime in the future?
I think arenas are difficult. I think that certainly, let's put it this way: there are communities out there that don't necessarily wrestle with the idea of whether to build an arena. What they wrestle with is whether to build things like ballparks. And I don't think there's anyone here in the city of Lowell, particularly, hopefully after I know Councilor Rita Mercier has a request on tonight, a motion on tonight regarding the Lasher RFP. I don't think anyone here would decide at this point in time that the ballpark was a bad idea for the city to move forward on, albeit with state funding. It's a facility that does a lot for the city, and I think financially will be bringing revenue into the city in the form of the lease arrangement that's negotiated. I think the same could apply to the arena. It's quite a large facility, and it has tremendous potential. I'm sure it has larger costs than most arenas, but I'll tell you this, that my experience with the Forum, which obviously is a much smaller facility, that runs a profit every year. close to $100,000. This arena, which should have much more potential, is losing money. Something's wrong there. And I think the city has in the past made decisions that weren't, I think they were well-intentioned, but I don't think the agreement that we've had in place for the management necessarily was the best. I think the wording, at least, the terms of this new agreement with SMG are far more effective in terms of its oversight by the Arena Commission. I think the deal with the Devils, we all agree, was not in the best interest of the city, but I understand why it occurred. I was very happy that we were able to boost that Devils revenue from $150,000 up to $275,000 a couple of years ago. I was able to make that happen. I think that there is potential there with the arena, that it could certainly reduce the deficit substantially and could, in fact, conceivably, break even at some point down the road. But I think the biggest problem has been that there hasn't been the ability to do the proper oversight. With that oversight, we get a much better understanding of where the money's going in the operation of that facility. And I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. All I'm saying is we have a much better sense of where that is. But I think a lot of these questions will make a lot more sense. The answers will make a lot more sense once we have the meeting with the Arena Commission.
Council Lindsay, then Council Rita Mercer, then we're going to wrap this up.
Okay, well, I think the councilors have made such a good point of not discussing this that I'm going to save my questions for the meeting with the Arena Commission. Okay? But just regarding the salaries and the organizational chart, I think the manager makes some good points, but this seems like something that they should be able to take out of a binder entitled operating budget and hand over. I mean, I don't expect that we'd have to wait like 2 months to receive this information, that's all.
We just got it about 2 weeks ago, so we just need to put it in the format to get to the council.
Okay, so you have the
not on the organizational chart. I don't believe we have an organizational chart. All we have is the salaries, but we have that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we wanted to put a package of information with the whole package together for the council.
Okay.
Council Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish we could have been negotiating when property value was raised higher. This is not a good economic time to be trying to sell something or do something with 3 acres of property. But I guess that what scares me the most is that my interpretation is the same as the newspaper. And I thought that I never seemed to interpret it the same way, but I did. It was funny that I did, because it was all outlined in the terms of an agreement, and finally it said, and I did like the part that said this, that they would purchase it for $800,000, the land, but the part that I liked was they would seek to maximize private sector activity that can generate tax revenue for the city. That's the part I love the best. And I thought, that's a good deal, but I don't know how we got from $1 million for the arena down to $1. I don't know how we downsized it like that, but whatever. I'm thinking about how someone could, and I want the deal to work. I want the best for the city, and I would like to do what I could to unload the red for the taxpayers, but I'm thinking about how, I think it's not in the best interest of the city if we just, don't look at all options, and to not have it go out to RFP just to prove to the public that, we only got one bid and it was for $800,000. So what's the deal here? Is it not better to give it to the university for $1 and, sell this land for $800,000? So I don't know why the deal would fall through and that would be the end of it if we put this out to RFP. I don't see the reasoning there. To me, I would want to say, see, I told you so I made the best deal, give it to us. So that I don't understand. But anyways, we'll negotiate. I hope the lines are not dead like Councilor Mercia said. We need to sit down at the table, all of us, get the probably Steve Giatakis to negotiate as well as he has, and try to put everybody there to try to say what's the best for the city. And I think on a smaller scale, where the parking garages put us at a $500,000 deficit in the red every year, and we did something about that, and I'm sure we could, on a larger scale, do something about this. I don't want the doors closed. And when I saw this letter, I said, wow, it's still negotiating, but I don't know where we are with the RFP either, like Councilor Elliott. I don't know where we are, but we ought to go.
I think it was put off to be discussed tonight.
Okay, so we're discussing it, and
Can I? As I remember, the RFP was delayed 30 days. And so it was to the next meeting, not tonight's meeting. So I think there is plenty of time between now and the next meeting to have a meeting about this arena situation.
First of all, I think having a meeting with the Arena Commission, long overdue. We should have a yearly meeting with that commission. And let us hear from the commission how the arena is functioning in a negative way or a positive way. And let us hear that. Let us get some input from that commission. Also, Councilor Ahmed Mercier indicated that we want to keep a good relationship with the university. Council, we are, Chancellor Meehan is working in a partnership with the Lowell School Department for the Partnership and Readiness Schools, along with Carol Cowan from Middlesex Community College. And in all due respect to Solicitor O'Connor, she had prepared that letter this morning prior to the letter coming from Chancellor Meehan. So that's why there was a little flap there. But I'm very happy to hear that we're going to meet with the commission, and let's move forward and address that arena. I think that the 9 of us working together with Manager Lynch, we should be able to do that. And hopefully Chancellor Meehan will be sitting at a table while we're discussing it. So accept the communications and place them on file by Councilor Rita Mercier, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? All the communications are accepted and placed on file. We are now going into a public hearing. Public hearing. Adopting the minimum residential factor for fiscal year 2009. Anyone wishing to come to the podium and speak in favor of adopting the minimal residential factor for fiscal year 2009, please come to the podium, state your name and address, please. Speaking in favor. Speaking in favor. The portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to come to the podium and speak in opposition, in opposition of the minimum residential factor. In opposition, public hearing is closed. It's the wish of the body. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a just simple question. Is this the maximum shift we're allowed, Mr. Manager? I assume it is, but want to make sure.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll ask this question, Mr. Manager. This means the residents of the city will be paying the minimum that they paid last year.
That's correct.
Okay. Any question? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Just one question to the manager, CFO, or Sula May Board of Assessors. Where are we with property valuation in the city? I know we had a brief discussion at the Finance Subcommittee meeting earlier this week, and this subject matter came up when it came to tax rate and the shift of the burden. Do you have a better idea? I think you're going to get us some information on citywide. Did we see I'm presuming we saw a total reduction in property valuation?
Ask if Ms. LeMay, if you could give some detail.
Yes, actually, every class of property, residential class of property, was decreased this year. And that was based on the calendar year 2007 sales and looking into the future to the 2008 sales. We took a little bit into consideration there.
So again, just for the people at home, we were looking at 07, and we're not looking at 08, which by all, by all accounts, we'll see a reduction. We're looking at sales from a year ago.
From the calendar year. That's right, from the calendar year 2007. That's the sales that we looked at. But we also looked at the 2008 to see what the trend was.
Okay, and what is that trend? The same thing?
Going down.
Going down. So my concern is we've lost property valuation. That means that, the tax burden has to go somewhere, which means there's less valuation. That means there's a greater burden on residential, commercial, and
Right.
industrial property owners.
Right. If the values go down, the rate goes up.
Right, the rate goes up. But in general, what was the total property valuation reduction citywide?
Approximately $400 million.
$400 million. Okay. Thank you.
Any Councilor Kazanjian?
So basically, the taxes aren't going to change. I mean, the valuation's going down, but the rates are going up. Is that what's happening?
What happens is the valuations drop to raise the same amount of revenue, the rates go up, correct?
Right.
But the tax bill may not. Now, the budget that was approved included that 2.5% increase in taxation. So it goes up that much. But what's happened here too is because commercial values have not dropped as much as residential, then the residents actually will pay their share of that 2.5%, and the whole tax bill actually goes down a little bit. So the average taxpayer this year is indicated in the information that was provided to the council. Back in the spring, when the budget was approved, we were projecting at that time, I believe, the average taxpayer would be paying about $75 more. And that was based on the budget that was approved. Now that we see what's happened with the values, that increase it drops down to $53 for the average taxpayer.
Councilor Elliott?
Ms. Lemay, how close are we to the levy ceiling?
It's about $4.9 million.
4.9 million, okay.
Well, I think there's two questions there. There's the levy ceiling, there's the levy limit.
Levy limit.
4.9 below that, and then there's the levy ceiling, which would be what we would raise if the tax rate was $25 per thousand.
Right.
I don't know if we have that number. Under this Proposition 2.5, there are two aspects. Right. There's you cannot exceed 2.5% of full and fair valuation. That would be a much larger number for the city. Another $50 million.
$50 million, okay.
So that's a concern that a number of communities had back, I believe, in the early 1990s, that they were reaching close to that because values were dropping so much. So there's that, but then there's also the levy limit that if you take how much we charge, increase it by 2.5% each year, we're still 4.9% below that, $4.9 million below that.
I guess my concern is losing $400 million in property valuation. The burden has to be carried somewhere with that 2.5%.
Not really. It doesn't, because you lose the values, but the tax burden remains essentially unchanged. There's no change in revenue. All it does is you increase the value, you increase the rate.
Increase the rate.
Right. Okay. You increase the rate, but people's, if somehow let's just say hypothetically that, we weren't making any changes, the budget that was approved did not have that 2.5% increase, then conceivably this year with the change in valuations for residential and commercial, you would actually see a decrease in residential tax bills. Or if there were no change in values at all, everything would stay exactly the same. But that's really an impossibility, because you're always going to see some values go up a little, some values go down a little bit based upon market conditions or changes to people's properties. So things shift around and people's burden shifts around a little bit. But hypothetically, that's where you would be. But it doesn't impact because you dropped the 400. I think there was a speaker here a few weeks ago who talked about the $400 million or the drop in values having impacting the city's revenue production. That's not true. All it does is change the rate in order to collect the same amount of money.
Councilor Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the present tax rate, I think, for residential is at $14.60.
No, 1068.
1060, and so it would go to what, to 1168 to offset that depreciation in the houses.
Exactly.
Okay.
And do you have the commercial questions? The commercial rate would go from 21.27 to 23.76.
To offset.
Right.
Even on the commercial, that's just to offset the less of a devaluation in those properties. Okay.
I just have one question for the auditor. Free cash, give me that big number.
It's a huge positive number, I'm very happy to say, of approximately $33,000. So we've gained another $1 million this year.
So we do have...
It is positive, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Excuse me?
Compared to,
It used to be in the millions, but
right, we were at negative 2.2 million just 3 years ago, so.
We're getting there.
any other questions, debates on this particular issue?
No, move approval.
Move approval by Counsel Rita Mercia, seconded by Counsel Ahmed Mercia. Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Moving on with the agenda, public hearing. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 9 thereof, entitled Waste and Recycling. Anyone who would wish to come to the podium and speak in favor of this amendment to the ordinance? In favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to come forward to speak in opposition? 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 The public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body?
Mr.
Move approval by Counsel Elliott, seconded by Counsel Broderick.
Just a question. The only thing that's happening here is we're changing the definition of household, right? To include,
That's correct, and that, well, the effect of that is who we then pick up.
Before we take a roll call, let me read this. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 9 thereof, entitled Waste and Recycling. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. The Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, hereinafter called the Code adopted by the City Council on April 26, 1988, is hereby amended with respect to Chapter 9 thereof, entitled Waste and Recycling, by amending Section 9.2, entitled Definitions, as follows. Household: a building consisting solely of dwelling units and containing no more than 6 said units is hereby amended to read as follows. Household: a building consisting solely of dwelling units and containing no more than 1 to 4 said units, and no more than 6 unless the said household is owner-occupied. If any provisions of this chapter is held to be invalid by a court of contempt jurisdiction, then such provisions shall be considered separately and apart from the remaining provisions, which shall remain in full force and effect. All provisions of the Lowell City Code as amended, which are consistent with this ordinance, shall continue in effect, but all provisions of said code inconsistent with herewith are repealed. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage in accordance with provisions of Chapter 43 of the Massachusetts General Laws, approved as to form by our Solicitor Christine P. O'Connor. Now, are there any questions before we take a roll call? Counsel Kazanjian.
Thank you, Mayor. This is basically going from 6 to 4, like we talked about?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's the intent.
So we're eliminating anything over 4 units, the city will not be responsible for. So we're gonna cap it at 4.
Unless it's owner-occupied. If
Unless
it's owner-occupied, we can go up to 6.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, public hearing, acceptance of various streets to take by eminent domain in fee certain parcels of land in the City of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of the following named streets and other municipal purposes associated therewith: Angle Street, Factory Street, and a portion of Manufacture Street. Anyone wishing to come to the podium and speak in favor, please come to the podium and give us your name and address, please.
Mark Young, Lowell Regional Wastewater Utility. These streets, acceptance of these streets are needed to continue with the CSO source separation project on the Chelmsford Street area. The streets are needed to lay drain lines and also to repair sewer lines in certain sections of the street that are in disrepair.
Anyone else wishing to come to the podium to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Public hearing is closed. The clerk has informed me that this will be, remain with the clerk's office for 2 weeks on this particular issue. The last item on the public hearing, National Grid, one-pole location, Coburn Street and one-pole Chancellor Street. Those wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium. In favor? In favor. Is anyone here from National Grid? Nobody here from National Grid? Anyone else wishes to come to the podium to speak in favor? The portion of the hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? We hold this in recess, Mr. Clerk. I know this one pole on Chancellor Street, Mr. Manager, is that the one that we're waiting to have removed so they can finish the Plain Street, Chancellor Street?
I think the,
Clerk is saying yes.
is it,
To my knowledge, it is, Councilman.
this is the replacement pole?
Right.
Okay. So yes,
That's the one at the corner of Plain and Chelmsford, and that's the one that's holding us up, isn't it?
that's correct.
What's the wish of the body?
If it's holding it up, I just assume vote on if we can.
I agree.
Move
I
approval?
agree. Any discussion?
Move approval.
Okay. Move approval by Councilor Arman, Mercia, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? It's voted in. Here we go. Now we're going to move on with the manager's agenda. And I'm not going to rush through this agenda, but I'll
Yeah,
expedite it
just move it
as
along.
quickly as I can, and I need some cooperation.
Got it on this side.
You got it on this side.
Okay, communications, city manager accepting resignations from library and COA board. Ms. Joyce Coughlin, 114A Faulkner Street. Dear Ms. Coughlin, this letter acknowledges receipt of your letter dated November 7, 2008, in which you resigned as a board member of the Council on Aging of the City of Lowell. Your resignation is hereby accepted. I am filing your resignations and is acceptance thereof this date with the city clerk as required by law, and also forwarding copies as communication to the city council. Also, a resignation from Mr. Summers. This letter acknowledges receipt of your letter dated November 5th, 2008, which you resigned from the Library Board of Trustees. Your resignation is accepted. I'm filing your resignations and this acceptance there with the city clerk, and accept the communications and place them on file by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Broderick. Constable Bond, Mary Ann Bryant, 2 Piedmont Street, Methuen, Mass. Council, November 12th, read and accept, place approval on roll call vote. Roll call by,
I have a question here.
yes, go ahead.
I don't have a problem with accepting this that's before us. I did read a lot of the reference letters to her character. She has a fine character, raised 3 children all alone. I admire her immensely, no doubt about that. Now she's taking care of an ailing mother. Of course, I think the world of this person. I don't even know her, but one of the letters in there that was for us to look at was a letter that she sent to the chief of staff to the mayor of Methuen, and the mayor assistant writes back and said, I have consulted with the city solicitor in Methuen, and he has determined that a person need not be a Methuen resident to serve as a constable in Methuen. The number of constables who serve in Methuen is capped, and all applicants are subject to the appointment of the mayor and approval by the city council. I'm sure the same applies in Lowell as well, where you don't have to live here, because this lady's from Methuen. So how many constables should we have that serve in Lowell before there's a cap place? That's my question. I just wanted to know out of curiosity.
I don't think we have a cap here in the city of Lowell. Some communities have chosen to have a cap. To my knowledge, there is no such in place here. We can investigate, though, Council.
Do we have the number of people who serve as constables in Lowell? Do we have a list of those people?
We do have a list. I don't have that, the number off the top of my head, but we can get that as well for
And
you.
I'd like to know how many of them are Lowellians, how many are not. That's my concern. Thank you.
Any other discussion, debate? If not, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
That pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, the City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of available appropriations for snow and ice removal in the current fiscal year. A motion to waive the full reading by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rita Mercia. Second reading by title, that pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, the City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of available appropriations for snow and ice removal in the current fiscal year. Any discussion? Any debate? If not, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs through the Merrimack Valley Nutrition Program in the amount of $18,000. This amount will be utilized to fund the purchasing of lunch supplies for the operation of the weekly lunch program for senior citizens at the Senior Center. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs through the Merrimack Valley Nutrition Program in the amount of $18,000. This amount will be utilized to fund the purchasing of lunch supplies for the operation of the weekly lunch program for senior citizens at the Senior Center. Any discussion, debate? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Do we know the timing of this, when the award, I'm assuming because they do a good job writing these grants, it will be successful. When will this money be available?
I believe it's already, this has been already awarded to the city.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of 6 telephone poles for installation at Barrett Field. The gift of material and labor is estimated to be $7,320. This donation is on behalf of Cowee Park Baseball Organization. Whereas Cowee Park Baseball Organization wishes to donate a gift of 6 telephone poles for installation at Barrett Field. The gift of material and labor is estimated to be $7,300. And whereas the City of Lowell desires to accept the gift of said 6 telephone poles, materials, and labor for installation at Barrett Field. Now therefore be it voted that the city manager be and he is hereby authorized in the name of the City of Lowell to accept the gift of 6 telephone poles for installation at Barrett Field. The gift of material and labor is estimated to be $7,320 pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally do hereby commend and officially extend the gratitude of the City of Lowell to Cowee Park Baseball Organization for the generosity displayed through their donation of the aforesaid telephone poles and labor of the City of Lowell. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept the gift of 6 telephone poles for installation at Barrett Field. The gift of materials and labor is estimated to be $7,300. This donation is on behalf of Cowee Park Baseball Organization, and I didn't waive the full reading because I thought Cowee Park should receive all the thanks and best wishes from this council. Any discussion on this issue? If not, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia. Yes. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of software from GIS system from Jeffrey Gomes, traffic engineer at the Division of Planning and Development in the City of Lowell. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Bill Martin, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept the gift of software for the GIS system from Jeffrey Gomes, traffic engineer at the Division of Planning and Development in the City of Lowell. Discussion, debate, questions? If not, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Approving the applications for allocation of commercial revitalization deductions, CRD-IRS code, that's 1401 of Rocket Realty Trust, John Ho, CBS, Case Mark, Butler Ventures, 92-98 Middle Street, LLC, and Dutton Street, LLC. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Vote approving the application for allocations of commercial revitalization deductions, CRD-IRS code, section 1401 of Rocket Realty Trust, John Ho, CBS Case Mark, Butler Ventures, 9298 Middle Street, LLC, and Dutton Street, LLC. Any questions? Any debates? Councilor Milonazo.
Just quickly, through you to the manager, again, I think this is a good development tool to use in the city of Lowell. However, your letter dated November 18 talks about the city's $12 million allocation limit. Is that an annual allocation limit, or is that something that...
It is an annual
An
allocation.
annual, okay, thank you.
Roll call?
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to enter an occupancy agreement with Brian P. Brian P. McGowan of 173 Methuen Street, Lowell, Mass. 01850 for property located at 28 Aiken Avenue, Lowell, Massachusetts, whereas Brian P. McGowan has offered 28 Aiken Avenue, Lowell, Mass. for a 2-year period at no cost to the city for a precinct for the Lowell Police Department. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All in favor, waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to enter into an occupancy agreement with Brian P. McGowan of 73 Methuen Street, Lowell, Mass. 01850 for property located at 28 Aiken Avenue, Lowell, Massachusetts. Any questions?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Arman
Yeah,
Mercia,
yeah.
second by Councilor Rita Mercia, and I think we owe Mr.
Yeah.
McGowan a great deal of thanks for allowing us to use this property for 2 years. Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Present.
Councilor Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 present.
Article 15, authorizing the city manager to accept and expend a wellness grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts for the Municipal Healthcare Innovation Award in the amount of $5,000 to implement programs designed to improve the overall health and wellness of employees of the city of Lowell. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Bill Martin, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Full reading's been waived. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager to accept and expend a wellness grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts for the Municipal Healthcare Innovation Award in the amount of $5,000 to implement programs designed to improve the overall health and wellness of employees of the city of Lowell. Any questions on this particular issue? The manager and I were at that press conference, and we were proud for them to present a $5,000 check to the city because we're doing a good job with the employees. So, Mr. Manager, congratulations.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Vote.
Utopia's thing.
Number 16, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to enter into a lease agreement with George D. Baracus and Nicholas C. Saris as trustees of 107 Merrimack Street Realty Trust for property located at 107 and 117 Merrimack Street, Lowell. Motion to waive the full reading by Counsel Kazanjian, seconded by Counsel Arman. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to enter into a lease agreement with George D. Barakas and Nicholas C. Saris as trustees of 107 Merrimack Street Realty Trust for property located at 107 and 117 Merrimack Street in Lowell. Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is number 17. This is a resolution. Everyone has this copy of this resolution? Authorizing the city manager to send a communication to Secretary Polson, Department of Treasury, United States of America, that the city manager send a communication to Secretary Polson requesting that the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008 includes the purchase of state and municipal bonds from eligible financial institutions in the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP, to help restore strength in cities and towns. This resolution adopted by vote of the City Council of Lowell on the day this will be voted on on this date. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager to send a communication to Secretary Polson, Department of Treasury, United States of America. I'll just give you a little information on this. Mayor McGlynn from Medford sent a communication to the mayor's office, and every mayor in the country is sending a resolution to Secretary of Treasury Polson. The
You better hurry up.
$700 billion bailout. There's many cities and towns that not are included on some of the federal funding and so forth. So I think this is very, very important resolution, that we should sign it and agree to it. So will we take a roll call on this?
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
I want to thank the solicitor for drafting this. And yes, Council.
I'd like to suggest that a copy of this be sent to Senator Kennedy's office, Kerry, and Congresswoman Nikki Songas, so that they're aware of what we're trying to do.
Okay, that's a form of a motion.
Yep.
Motion by
We'll
Councilor
do
Lenzi,
second.
second by Councilor Rita Mercia. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. I'm going to give this to Councilor Broderick. Okay. Moving on with the agenda. An ordinance amending Section 2-123 of Lowell Commission on Disability in the City of Lowell. Section 2-123, establishment, purpose, membership term is hereby amended by adjusting the number of members to the following. The Lowell Commission on Disability shall consist of not less than 5 nor more than 9 members. All provisions of the Code of the City of Lowell as amended, which are not inconsistent with this ordinance, shall continue in effect, but all provisions of said code inconsistent herewith are repealed. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 43 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And this is going to be referred to a public hearing December 9th. And the purpose of this amendment is the Disability Commission has a hard time getting a quorum, and many times we can't have a meeting. And because of that, a lot of good work is being left on the doorstep. So if we reduce the amount of members, then we can have a quorum and continue to serve the disabled in our city. That'll be going to a public hearing December 9th. Ordinance. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Appendix A thereof entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance by extending existing DMU zoning district to include 2628 Lawrence Street in Lowell. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Kazanjian, second by Council Lindsay. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Appendix A thereof entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance by extending existing DMU zoning district to include 26-28 Lawrence Street in Lowell. And that's going to refer it to the planning board by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rita Mercia. Any discussion or debate on this? Let's go into the planning board. That is the agenda. We are now into subcommittee reports. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Safety Subcommittee met last evening. Councilor Kazanjian, Councilor Elliott, and myself, along with, we had Assistant City Solicitor David Fenton and our Animal Control Officer Bill Porter, talking about the proposed ordinance, dangerous and vicious dogs. And this evening on your desk, Attorney Fenton did leave a copy of the results of that meeting last night. We did make 3 amendments. We strengthened the fines under Section 4.37B. We actually went from $200 to $300. And we also suggested prohibiting dangerous and vicious dogs and potentially dangerous dogs from the use of the city dog park. And then we had a few minor grammatical and spelling corrections to the ordinance. So it would be our recommendation that, as amended, that the ordinance is now proposed be advertised for a public hearing. I should also mention that we will be bringing forward a separate ordinance dealing specifically with pit bulls, or American Staffordshire Terriers as they're called. And currently, Attorney Fenton is looking at the Boston ordinance as it relates to pit bulls, and will be coming back through the council to the subcommittee, and then we'll bring it back to the full council dealing with the issue of pit bulls based upon what we heard a couple of weeks ago from Craig Gates and what happened with his dog here in downtown. So I'm pleased with the meeting. I think my colleagues would agree that it was a good meeting, and I think what we're doing is strengthening the current dangerous and vicious dog ordinance that we have on the book. So again, the subcommittee is recommending that it be referred to a public hearing for approval, for review.
Council, I'm very pleased, and I want to thank Solicitor David Fenton and the entire subcommittee for weighing in on this particular issue, and I'm very happy with what you've done, Council Milonazo and the entire subcommittee. This is a very important issue, and I'm happy that it's going to go to a public hearing December 9th. Everyone willing to send this to a public hearing December 9th? Thank you. Any other reports, Councilor?
No, that's it. Thank you.
I just have...
Right.
I just have a suggestion. I wonder if the law department would check with the insurance companies, just one of them, and find out what kind of dogs they don't insure the house for.
If I could, that's a very good question, Councilor Armin Mercy. We actually did that before the meeting yesterday, yes, and we do have that information.
Okay.
In fact, I'd be happy to provide you with a copy of that list. And if it actually is not insurable under a typical homeowner's policy,
Right.
they have to go through the Mass Fair Share Plan, I believe is what it's called. But you're correct in that the current, the proposed ordinance does require that they have a $100,000 liability policy once the dog is deemed to be either potentially dangerous or dangerous. But that's a very good question. We were able to get that information.
Thank you.
Nice piece of work, Councilor. Very nice. And Councilor Kazanjian and Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. I think the only breed that we're really going to determine as a dangerous animal is the pit bull. Now, this is maybe the city solicitor can answer this question. Is it going to be let's say if the pit bull is 50% pit bull and another breed, is that going to be considered a dangerous animal, or is it just going to be a full-bred pit bull?
Well, the current ordinance is designed, I think, to not necessarily zero in on specific breeds right now.
Well, I think we were going to go with the Boston. We were going to adopt the Boston ordinance, which they considered that a dangerous and have to be dangerous animal. It would have to be on the street with a muzzle, the pit bull itself.
Right.
But the other breeds were going to be determined by the animal control officer whether it was a dangerous animal.
Right, it's exactly. As I understand it, we'll be moving forward with this ordinance, and in the meantime, Dave Fenton will be taking a look at this Boston ordinance in some more detail. And as I understand it, the Boston ordinance is the one that is aimed more at specific breeds. I think for insurance purposes, there are certainly more than one breed of dogs that are uninsurable.
And one other question. I know we're going with a some type of committee to work with the DPW or the animal control officer, but I understood it yesterday, the animal control officer is going to be the one that determines whether it's a dangerous animal. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I do know in the Boston ordinance that if you own a pit bull, it's considered a vicious dog. You also have to have a plaque on your building indicating that you do have that dog that resides in. Councilor Elliott?
Councilman Menard did a fine job really recapping the meeting, and it was a good meeting, and this is an important first step to giving the animal control officer some leverage and making decisions on not just pit bulls, but other dogs that may be deemed vicious. We did ask the clerk last night to get us a number of, there's approximately 1,900 dogs in the city. Of the 1,900 registered now, there's 149 pit bulls. And those are, that does not include those that are considered a mix. So that's, a fairly large number. The animal control officer also indicated since 2007, there's been 75 attacks, if you will, by vicious dogs. 25 of those were by pit bulls. So Solicitor Fenton recommended we proceed with this ordinance, which we followed up by an ordinance specifically targeting pit bulls that will have additional requirements, signage, things of that nature. So Solicitor Fenton did a good job on this, and I'm going to support it.
Thank you. This is going to a public hearing December 9th. Okay. Any other subcommittee reports? Councilor Kazanjian and Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week we had a neighborhood subcommittee. It was preferring to the break-ins in the Highland District. There's been a number of break-ins, and present was Chief LaValle, Captain Sullivan, Captain Webb, and Nancy Judge, Renee Garrison from the Highlands Action Group. We discussed the break-ins with Superintendent LaValle, and he's stated that so far this year there's been over 40 more break-ins in the Highlands than it was in the whole entire year of last year. And he feels that due to the economics going on in the city and in the country, and also some of the drug and alcohol addictions happening. He said a number of them there were 9 arrests, and 3 of the arrests were located from the Grip House, located on Wilder Street, and he said that some of the reasons why, because of the drug addictions, and they needed to fuel their addiction with, they needed money to take care of their addiction. Also, that night before the meeting, I received a phone call from Kevin Murphy, the state rep, and could not make the meeting, but been involved in a number of Highland meetings, and he had mentioned that whatever he can do at the State House, he would be more than happy to do whatever he can. Also, we did make a motion to meet with the District Attorney's Office to discuss the issue of what's happening. The police are making these arrests, and the next day, these individuals are right back out in the street. So the police are getting frustrated on what's happening. They're just going right back to the same MO and breaking into these homes and our cars, whatever the situation may be. So we did bring a motion forward to see if we can discuss that, and hopefully we can get someone from the DA's office and see if we can resolve it and make it a little bit tougher for these people to get back on the street.
Yep.
Thank you.
I do know that in that subcommittee meeting, it was also indicated that there were 2 stores that were going before the License Commission, and the police are looking into that as well. So, accept the reporter's report of progress and place it on file. Council Martin.
I wasn't able to make the meeting, but I did want to compliment the police department on the report that we got. It was, very well done and comprehensive, and it looks like they've, reassigned some officers to address this problem in the Highlands, but also in other areas of the city. So some detectives assigned, and they've had some success. So it's, I think, proactive approach, and I was happy to see it.
And the frustration that I think we all feel is from the police. They do their job, bring the criminal into the court of law, and many times before the detective is back at the police station, the criminal is out on bail. And the chief indicated they arrested 9 people, and only one of them was incarcerated, so it's a frustrating thing. So accept the reporter's report of progress by Counsel Rita Mercier, second by Counsel Milonazo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. The report has been placed on file. Counsel Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 reports. First one is for the Environmental Subcommittee that met relative to a motion regarding the power plant in Billerica as it relates to the impact of traffic on residents in South Lowell. Council Martin and myself, Council Kazanian was also in attendance. There were a couple of residents in that particular neighborhood that registered to speak to express their concerns with not only the traffic during the construction period, but also thereafter. Mr. Fitzpatrick was in attendance from DG Clean Power, and he went through the process of construction and the number of vehicles that will be going in and out of the facility on a daily basis during the construction season. That's approximately 250 workers. DG Power has committed, according to Mr. Fitzpatrick, to put a uniformed police officer at intersections that are needed, as needed. Excuse me. There's approximately 1,000 cars that travel that intersection, which is the intersection of Woburn Street and the off-ramp from 495, about 1,000 cars per hour during peak period, approximately 500 cars in off-peak period. Other questions came up regarding the delivery of supplies to the plant, particularly chemical deliveries, the ammonia that's going to be used to scrub the stacks. This is a natural gas plant. There will be approximately 6 bulk chemical deliveries per month. Other questions came up regarding the delivery of trucks, water trucks, in the event during extraordinary demand periods. Mr. Fitzpatrick indicated there will be approximately 20 trucks daily during these circumstances. I think that is about it. That's a recap of the meeting, and that's a report of progress, Mr. Mayor.
Accept the reporter's report of progress by Counsel Ahmed Mercier, second by Counsel Milonazo. All in favor, accepting the report and placing it on file. Go ahead, Counsel Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee also met last week in response to motions filed regarding our FY09 budget, as well as any information that we may receive from the Governor's Office on this and next fiscal year. Mr. Moses was in attendance, indicated that at this point, local aid is, by all indications from folks at the State House, that local aid will be untouched. He also indicated that tax collections seem to be consistent. We've had more transactions naturally this year as in and out of tax foreclosure, but as we described it, they're going in and they're coming back out. Estimated receipts seem to be on target. Interestingly enough, building permits are up 60%. Is that correct, Mr. Moses? Okay. There was really just a fluent discussion as to where we're at and what if potential reductions come down the pike. What is the administration prepared to do? Some actions that are already being taken. I thought that the subcommittee had made a motion, Mr. Moses or Mr. Manager, that we receive a report. Is that forthcoming on actions that you have taken, including not filling some positions, some procurement POs that are coming through that you're scrutinizing and they're not being funded, issues of overtime, use an example of the special events coordinator position. Duties have been shifted, saving $65,000. I thought there was a motion that we made that was...
We did provide the council with a report about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the various steps we're taking, and we're getting you an updated a report on the effects of those actions that we're taking, the positions that aren't being filled. That specifically is what is being compiled right now, going through and reviewing each one of the positions that have not been filled over the last several months, and that will be forthcoming.
Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, clearly, the message was, and from the subcommittee and the administration, we're concerned with the future, and
Absolutely.
we're taking it serious. We know the administration's taking it serious. You're working on contingency plans of a 5%, a 10% reduction, and what could happen. Naturally concerned not to release those plans until we have some hard numbers. We don't want to, worry folks on what may or may not happen, but the message is that we're scrutinizing everything, and there was a discussion about a hiring freeze. You did indicate that the solicitor, because of contractual issues, collective bargaining agreements, that was not possible. Can you clarify a little bit that, Mr. Manager?
I think the issue with the hiring freeze, and the solicitor can weigh in on some aspects of that, but specifically the question was raised at an earlier meeting about the possibility of a hiring freeze. The solicitor indicated that the manager, you could ask that certainly was in the realm of the city council to ask the manager to report on that issue. And in that report that I provided to the council back in
October 16th.
I think it was, right. I indicated that, the city, the administration was taking the approach that was, I forget the exact terminology, but essentially every position that it opens up. I want to be clear that this is standard practice for us, but it's raised up a notch given the economic circumstances. Every position that opens up is being reviewed very carefully, and in most cases that we're not moving forward with filling unless it's determined that there's a public safety need, or there's a statutory obligation to fill a position, or there is a financial benefit to filling it as opposed to leaving it vacant. So obviously the best example is the special events coordinator's position. We determined that was not necessary to be filled, that we could handle those responsibilities in an alternative way, and so we did not move forward with that filling of that position. That's the approach we're taking across the board on every position that we have, to cut down on the number of personnel now, as opposed to having to wait if there have to be cutbacks moving forward. I think importantly what we have to look at is that we make all of our budget decisions in a very strategic way, so that it doesn't end up costing the city more in the long run, or jeopardize very essential public services, particularly related to public safety.
Just a couple other items, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. Council Martin did raise the issue of initiating the budget process earlier in FY010. The manager did indicate that as soon as we get hard and fast numbers, we'll be proceeding in that direction. And I think that was it. We already spoke about the assessments and the reduction in property valuation across the city, and that's the report of progress.
Okay. Any discussion on the subcommittee report, Councilor Kazan?
Thank you, Mayor. So where do we, Mr. Manager, where do we stand with the hiring freeze? I mean, I know you just kind of like explained it or whatever.
Essentially, we're freezing every position unless there's a identified public safety need or a statutory requirement that we fill a position, or if there's, in reviewing it, we determine that it would be more costly for the city to not fill the position. A good example of that would be the solid waste inspectors that we've talked about. If we can, in order to make the solid waste program work, and the revenue that will be raised through the fining of people that violate the ordinance, it's more advantageous for us to have those positions filled. Other administrative positions and across the board positions, we're not moving forward to fill. But I think to say, it's a very bluntly, hiring freezes are, one, they never really exist. No one really ever does a hiring freeze. What it does is people use the term, but in fact they move forward to fill positions, and then it raises all types of questions as to whether there's a hiring freeze or whether there isn't a hiring freeze. And the other aspect of hiring freezes is they're a very simplistic way of handling budgets, and it's much more effective to do it in a strategic way so that you're filling positions that need to be filled, but you're not, in general terms, you're not filling most positions.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, was the one implemented about 3 years ago with the previous manager?
I don't know if that ever existed.
And did it work?
It was brought forward, but I
Right.
think under the Cox administration, I don't think he honored it, so.
Yeah.
That's maybe my colleagues during that time period. Councilor Martin?
Well, I don't remember what we did. We may have used those words, but I just point to the City of Boston so-called hiring freeze that Mayor Menino announced this year, and yet there's, I think, close to 100 new hires since the freeze was implemented. So I think I'd rather have, a very serious and focused review, as the manager has described, that's going to have some meaning to it, as opposed to calling something a freeze that has so many exemptions in it that it's essentially meaningless. So, that's, my comment on the matter.
I think non-essential person, I think that's left up to the manager to decide. Councilor Elliott?
What may be helpful, Mr. Manager, if you can keep the council abreast on positions
Right.
like the special events coordinator, where duties were shifted for an additional stipend, yet the savings was $65,000. I think that makes sense to do those things. I think you mentioned the other night, if a dispatcher quits or leaves or moves on, we naturally have to fill that position, but just keeping us informed as to what's taking place will be helpful.
Absolutely. If I could just address one area that we're spending quite a bit of attention right now on is, generally speaking, the city has always taken the position that grant-funded positions, automatically, you fill those because they're grant-funded. They're not coming out of the budget. We're taking a different approach on that. What we're doing is we're not moving forward with the filling of all those positions. Instead, we're using a strategy that perhaps existing personnel salaries could be funded through the grant, thereby freeing that money up in the general operating budget. So again, we're being far more aggressive in that area with recognizing, as Councilor Martin has indicated, it really isn't. If you have so many exemptions in it, it just loses the whole issue loses credibility, and it's. But I think Councilor Elliott, I think the idea of more frequent reporting on a number of those areas will be helpful to the council to understand the perspective we're taking and get that out to the public as well.
Councilor Kazandjian?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, should we bring a motion forward that the manager reports to us about any type of hirees? I mean,
That's good.
and but just the way the economics are right now, we have to tighten our belt. I'm not saying you're not, but I mean, just keeps us abreast of what's going on.
If I could, I'd be more than happy to make regular reports to the council on that.
Okay, so I want to suspend the rules to make a motion that the manager
Well,
reports.
is it informed with the same subcommittee report?
Okay, all right, so that's fine. Okay,
A
great.
motion by Councilor Kazandjian to have the manager supply the council with an abreast report on any new employees and so forth, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay. You happy with that, Mr. Manager? That's something we can live with? Okay. Councilor Elliott, do you have more to report?
No.
Okay. Accept the report of progress brought forward by Chairman Elliott, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. All in favor of accepting the report of progress, signify by saying aye. The report has been accepted and placed on file. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last report, I'll be brief. Zoning Subcommittee met tonight to review the reader board signing ordinance and an update on the form-based zoning. And essentially, the outcome was that the recommendation and what the subcommittee decided to move forward on is to not throw out reader boards in total, but to ask the DPD to work with the ZBA and members of the community down the road to allow for allow them in specific districts, limit the size, either the size of the signs or the size of the letters on the signs, limit the message to a static message, meaning it's up for the day, it's not blinking, it's not going to be a distraction to readers, to drivers, and limit the color potentially to one color. The other aspect, there's three aspects. The other aspect is to review the code and basically edit the table as to how the table of sign types, specifying what's allowed in each zoning district, indicate what size is allowed, and to deal with specifically with internally illuminated signs. One of the problems that the code is 28 years old and it hasn't kept up with technology. And also to go further as we go along, to create a guidebook, hopefully, that can be put on the online and just disseminated to people, so that a guidebook with a collaboration of the city council, the zoning board, and the community, so people are aware what's going on, gives them input in their neighborhoods if we're going to try and make it zoning specific. And the last issue is the issue of variances. And there were two options. One is to leave it as a sign ordinance, which would allow for variances. And another option is to pull it out of the sign ordinance and move it into what is called the general ordinance, which would give the city council more teeth to be able to say it is not allowed here, it is not allowed there. And in areas that it is allowed, to make it a special permit, which there was discussion of whether to create a new sign review board. But I think it was pretty much decided or indicated that continue to leave it with the ZBA, but to get them involved in the process and how to formulate what would be acceptable and at least hear what they're dealing with, and to give them some teeth and some guidance. So essentially, DPD is going to come back to us with some more specifics and also some feedback and hopefully some more information and specifics on moving it to the general ordinance to give it more teeth, but keep it with the Zoning Board of Appeals. The form-based zoning code, we got a brief update. The other portion took the majority of the meeting. Essentially, two key points. They're working with the Historic Board, because the Historic Board is going to have to sign off on this. So they're working with them and trying to get their approval as they go along. And we're going to have a continued for a follow-up meeting, hopefully to get into the meat of it. They said they're about 94% done. Hopefully they're 99.9. And we're going to do that January 6th, Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. here, and it will be televised. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the report? If not, accept the report as report of progress by Council Ahmed Mercia, seconded by Council Bill Martin. All in favor, signifying by saying aye. The report has been accepted and received and placed on file. Any other subcommittee reports? None? Moving on with petitions. National Grid, one pole location, Hall Street. Our hearing is December 9th. December 9th. And one claim, property damage, referred to Law Department by Council Kazanjian, seconded by Council Broderick. Into the motions. We have 9. How many motions? 9. So let's see how fast we can go through these motions.
Yeah, most of them are readers, so remember.
You know it.
By Council Rita Mercer, request the City Council review the second and fourth council meeting schedule, and at the review, vote to keep the same or change the past schedule, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. On the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In March, when the vote was taken to keep the council meeting in the same as the summer schedule, I didn't support it at the time, but I requested through a motion that we revisit this motion in December to determine whether it was working towards a purpose or not. Remember that? January? Well, I'm getting a little...
We remember.
But here's my observation so far. Although the meetings aren't excessively long all the time, at times they are, and our constituents tune out. They're already telling me they're tuning out after a certain time. They tell me this. I go out and about, and they just can't stay up any longer, or others turn the channel, because we're boring them. It's going on and on ad infinitum. You can only hold their attention for so long, and I can't blame them. The main purpose of this change was so that we could devote the off Tuesdays to subcommittee meetings and take our time and not rush through them, having to go into a city council meeting. Take tonight, for example. We're at a city council meeting, and there was a zoning board subcommittee meeting previously at 5:30. I'm not faulting it, but wasn't that the same reason why we went to a summer schedule and continued it on? Yet last Tuesday, there was no meeting, and there was no subcommittee meeting. In September, on Tuesday the 2nd, no subcommittee meeting and no council meeting. The following Tuesday, the 9th, we did have a city council meeting. September 16th, Tuesday, no subcommittee meeting. On September 23rd, a city council meeting night, and yet we held another subcommittee meeting. It was, in fact, a flood-issued subcommittee meeting at 5. And in October, there were no meetings held at all, subcommittee meetings. Let's check out November. Because of Veterans Day holiday on Tuesday, the 11th, the council meeting voted to take the 4th of November and hold the meeting instead. On the 4th of November, we had an environmental and neighborhood traffic subcommittee meeting at 5:30 and a on a city council night as well. On Tuesday the 18th, no council meeting and no subcommittee meeting. On Tuesday the 25th tonight, we had a city council meeting and a zoning board subcommittee. So I'm thinking, how can this council use these excuses to support this following plan? I don't get that, but, so I'm just asking that this is a chance, probably in January, to redeem ourselves. If for no other reason, go back and get personal with our constituents, because I feel that we should be here. We do not need to lay out excuses and then not follow them. If you want to send this issue and let it rest until January and try to be a little bit more, mindful of the fact of what the plan was in the first place, fine, maybe you should do that. But right now, we're not following the plan that was in place to make this happen. Personally, I enjoy a Tuesday not having to come here. I will admit that, I do. But I still somehow think that it isn't right and we're not following the plan, and I think we're far removing ourselves a little bit at a time from those people that support us and want to know. I run into people all the time, and these are the things they tell me. I wanted to watch the city council meeting, but I couldn't remember if it was the 1st and the 3rd or the 2nd and the 4th and the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and that's an excuse for us. I really think we're doing a disservice by not being here. Maybe we'll be here for an hour. Maybe we're not here till 11 o'clock, but I don't know, it's my opinion, and if I said January, then we'll stick to it, but right now, we're not following the plans.
Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we sit here this evening, I agree with my colleague, Councilor Rita Mercia. I did support the original motion, and as I sit here this evening, I continue to support the original motion with the understanding that we will review this in January. I think what we're lacking here, and this is just my opinion, is structure on that opposite Tuesday night. When I voted for this, I thought we were going to have subcommittee meetings, plural. Have one at 5:30, have one at 6:30, have one at 7:30 on the off Tuesday night. When I talk to some of my, I'll call them constituents, but people that talk to me in the community, they say, why are you doing it on Monday night? Why are you doing it on Wednesday night? I'm used to watching the council meeting on Tuesday night. So again, when I supported the motion, I really thought structure would be the key to making sure that we kept our constituents informed as to what's going on. So I'm hoping that between now and January, and I'll defer to obviously my colleagues, but the city clerk's office as well, to put those subcommittee meetings on Tuesday night, and if we have to schedule more than one, we'll schedule more than one, and if we're here until, I know it's 11 o'clock is the appointed hour that we actually stop meeting, but if we have to be here, I'll speak for myself. I will certainly be here at subcommittee meetings that I'm involved in, and I try to, as you know, try to come to subcommittees, even if I'm not an official member. But I think that's what's been missing, the structure. And again, it's only been since we've gone off summer schedule, but I think that we really do need to revisit the issue, and I certainly intend to do that in January, but I'm hoping between now and January we get some structure to those off Tuesday nights.
I agree that every Tuesday evening should be part of the council agenda. It should be part of your agenda.
Right.
Because if you didn't have the meeting, that Tuesday night, you should be, having a subcommittee meeting or doing something.
Correct. I mean, you could have public safety at 5:30, you could have environmental at 6:30, you could have housing, depending, because they're all issues that need to be addressed.
Right. And one of the reasons why I supported it is sometimes it's very difficult for the clerk and I to get prepared for a meeting.
Right.
And the last 2 minutes, we're up here trying to get everything organized, and if anyone's been a mayor and chaired the meetings, you know what I'm talking about. But will we send this to the Rules Subcommittee, Council Mercier?
Yes, yes.
And on the Rules Subcommittee is Chairman Jim Milanazzo, Council Rita Mercier, Council Armin Mercier.
This will be sent to the Rules Committee in January.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
On a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, like it's always being done.
Can
Council Armin.
first of all, I like the way the system is working in terms of every other week. I hear from constituents, and they get bored, but they don't get bored because the meetings are every 2 weeks. They get bored for other reasons, and that I won't, elaborate on. But I agree with Councilman Linazzo that if there's a structure that says that those other Tuesdays are designed specifically for subcommittee meetings and it's followed through, then there is no issues.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned. I really believe that if we do a structure, then continuing what we're doing now would work better. So I'm not in favor, of course, of going every week, but I am in favor of taking a look at the structure to have the subcommittee meetings, be every other Tuesday. And I think that's probably could be done fairly easy, but again, I'm not hot on subcommittees to begin with, so I'm not a good test of that,
There are some very important subcommittee meetings, and we all know that.
Yep.
And if the public knew, tune in on Tuesday, there's not a council meeting, but there's a very important subcommittee meeting that's convening and taking place, that's gonna last for an hour and a half. That would be, their interest. So, Council Martin?
Well, I don't think we've given this much of a chance. I mean, the summer schedule ends at the end of September. So if you look at October, we should have had 2 meetings. In fact, we had 3. You scheduled a special meeting, so we missed 1 meeting that we otherwise would have had in October. In November, we've had only 2 meetings, but we would have missed 1 because of Veterans Day anyway. So we missed 1 that we otherwise would have had in November. So if people are missing us, they've only missed us 2 nights so far. Yep. And, and I've been to plenty of subcommittee meetings. Last week we had 2 on a Wednesday night. And, that's, maybe not following what some people thought was the intent of this, then so be it. Maybe we can make better efforts on those. But people are here having meetings. I mean, I haven't seen any lack of work or any lack of production or any lack of the business of the city being accomplished because of the schedule. We give it another month, that I think, and see, but I'm not anticipating there's going to be much change. Maybe there can be a better structure for Tuesday nights, but I haven't noticed any lack of work or production from the members of this council as a result of the schedule.
Council Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the maker of the motion, I feel like I have to defend it. But I think it's worked out kind of as I pictured it when I made the motion. And there's a lot of things. There's been no shortage of meetings. That's been my experience on the council for 11 months, whether it's on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Monday or a Thursday. And the other thing about Tuesdays, it's a big night for business mixers. So I have maybe selfishly found time to be able to attend more business mixers sponsored by different businesses within the Chamber of Commerce or the CVB that has allowed me, maybe as a business person, to interact with a lot of businesses in the community and get their feedback and listen to their concerns. So, I think we could probably go back and forth and debate it a number of times, but maybe structure so that people know when to tune in. Maybe that's a good idea. And of course, like anything else, something when it's begun is not perfect. And if we need to tweak it a little bit and put more structure into it, that's fine with me.
Anyone else like to weigh in on the, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and it's referred to the Rules Subcommittee. And
Which will be held on a Tuesday where there is no council meeting.
That's right. That's the rules, isn't it?
Next motion by Council Rita Mercer. City Council requests the city manager to develop a policy for informing businesses of impending construction so as to promote a better business-friendly city. Seconded by Councilor Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's suppose that you are a residential taxpayer in the city of Lowell, and on top of that, you are a business owner as well in the city of Lowell, and you did your part to contribute on both fronts for many, many years to a city that you loved, and lo and behold, on your busiest day, you were met with the street in front of your business being ripped apart, and all the parking spaces for your customers were taken by construction work. How would that make you feel? Well, we're not supposing here this actually happened. This scenario happened 3 weeks ago on Central Street. Now, businesses in the city do expect construction work to take place. They understand that. They're not unreasonable. In their opinion and in mine, it would have been more advantageous to have notified them through a notice along the Central Street corridor that impending work construction was going to be done on a particular day as a matter of common courtesy. Their only warning was a small sign that could have overlooked, I could have overlooked it, and it read, "No standing between the hours of 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. How informative is that? Because I don't know what that means to the layperson. Why can't we as a city be more business-friendly? We want to promote businesses and do what we can. Why can't we as a city be more informative? Why can't we require construction companies that have to apply for a permit to dig in the street or do some type of construction work that will have an impact on any business or businesses be required to not only pull a permit, but also to notify through a notice all businesses that will be affected by the work? Can we make this a part of a requirement? And I don't think it'll burden city employees, but it'll make the company that needs to complete the work to be held accountable to the entity that they will be affecting. Now, having heard from some businesses along Central Street, I was a little put off by it because I could feel what they were going through, and it wasn't right, I thought. I'm not saying it was your fault, Mr. Manager. Please don't think that I'm thinking that. It isn't. But then I thought, how hard is it for the contractor or company to go pass out notices? I was so upset by that I found out that the company digging was the very guy's company that came before us and pleaded for us to upgrade in text messaging, and I said, no, we already know how to do that. He didn't even pull a permit. He just went out on a Saturday and had his men started digging the street. That made me even more mad. But I found out, and through someone, and I'm not going to get into it, he actually devised what I'm looking for. I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to embarrass him because I already did that on myself. But here's a letterhead from him, and it says, "To whom it may concern, this letter is to notify you in advance that this company will be doing work on Central Street, which will include trenching on Saturday, November 8th and Sunday, November 9th. He went out there individually, and he's going to patronize these places with his construction crew for having inconvenienced him. So I think, what's the harm in requesting this through a permit and be more business-friendly to our businesses down there? They know that they need the work done, but this little piece of paper, send one of the guys out like a week before and so they get an idea what's going to happen. That's all I'm asking for. I think it's not being illogical, but...
Mr. Manager?
Council, I think that's a great idea. I think that, we try to do it with all of our city construction work. I'm sure sometimes we slip up and we don't do that, but I think it's a great idea, and I'll take that idea and we'll run with it.
Thank you.
Councilor Kazanja?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's a great motion, and I've got many complaints, especially with the CSO projects and things that are going on. The business owners and some of the residents have called me up, and they can't get into their property because of the work that's being done. But I wouldn't put the burden on the city to pass these flyers out. I'd put the burden on the contractor to make sure
That's right.
that he passes these out. That's going to be his responsibility.
Yeah. I know National Grid informed all the residents in the city when they were cutting trees that
Yes.
they were going to be doing that and so forth. So they did play a role.
It's only a matter of courtesy, I think.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next motion by Councilor Rita Mercier. City Council requests the city manager to provide information on the structure of the Health Department and the Inspectional Service Department, seconded by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's talk out there, Mr. Manager, regarding restructuring of the Health Department and Inspectional Service Department. And when there's talk, I get a little bit curious. First, I don't know if this talk is true, and secondly, if the talk is true, I wonder what the motive or the intention or the goal is to justify the restructuring. What I do know is that at one point under the Brian Martin administration, in an effort to duplicate the scenario was in place at that time. I think they were trying to duplicate Cambridge at one point. And so he put this very scenario in place, and it didn't work then. So we dissolved it, and we're trying to do the same thing today. That's what it seems like to me. And I don't know that you remember this, but we did have that scenario before, and it did not work, and we had to undo it. And I'm also hearing that there's a move afoot to move the school nurses out of the health department and put them in the school budget. I'm only telling you what I'm hearing, so you can comment or send a report or whatever. I'm not trying to put you in the spot. I mean, the health department serves a purpose. Does this move water down the health department? Before we make drastic moves, why not wait and see if we could set up a memorandum of agreement so as to who works for whom? The nurses work in the school department, but they work for the health department, and they work in the school system. So this memorandum of agreement will outline what's what, so perhaps this move probably will not be likely to happen. I don't know. Then there's the issue of combining inspectors. Building inspectors do not interpret sanitary code, and my concern is also, where do we put 15 cars down here at City Hall if you're going to move them from the health department? I brought this motion up to initiate discussion as to what's the goal. Is there a motive? Is there a plan? That's pure and simple what
Councilor, can I just interject? We're probably walking a fine line here. This probably falls under the jurisdiction of the manager, and if the manager brings a plan forward, then we could probably discuss that plan with him, but I don't know whether we're, Madam Solicitor, do you want to weigh in on this, or?
Wholeheartedly agree, and also some of these are issues that may be taken up privately in collective bargaining. So there's many sort of red flags, unfortunately, that are raised in your motion.
So we have no input as to what's going to
Not under the
could
planning
possibly
form of
take
government. We
place.
have the manager manages and the council sets policy. And I think that's where it's been.
Well, I know that you negotiate with unions. I didn't know this was a union issue. I thought it was a restructuring issue, and I remember when a previous city manager did that, and it didn't work. So I'm just trying to put up my red flag and say that we went through this one time and it didn't work. But be that as it may, I just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah.
If you
Manager
can't
Lynch?
discuss it, that's fine. I just...
Counselor, let me just say this, that because I understand your concerns, but I can certainly concur with the mayor and the city solicitor with their observations on the responsibility of the manager in this particular area. Just let me just say that I think I even indicated this in the budget that we submitted to the City Council back in the spring. I believe I included this in my budget message. And I've certainly said it publicly. We continue to look at all different ways to structure city government to make it more efficient, more effective, and more, and cost less, and do the the best possible job that we can for the citizens. And along those lines, we have discussions regarding all sorts of departments, all sorts of offices, to say, you know, if we put A with B, does it make better sense for the city, or would it be better to do A and C, or would it be better to just leave A alone? These are all ideas that we kick around from time to time and explore different, with the staffing that we have and with the money that we have available. And we'll, you know, certainly, if anything comes up that, you know, we'll certainly alert the city council to any of those issues.
Fine.
Refer the motion to the manager. By Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Elliott. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. The next motion is by Council Rita Mercer. City Council requests the city manager to provide an update on the Spinners contract. Seconded by Council Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We got to be very careful with this one.
I am going to be very careful. I'm going to say it very slowly, that if someone were to ask me, how's the Spinners contract coming, I would have to say that I have no idea. This motion is seeking a report of progress on the Spinners contract. I want to know who's negotiating the contract, because it isn't the council, so I want to know, is it the Arena Commission, is it a private company? Do we have a say in what we'd like to see? I mean, we have ideas, I bet. We don't have, we can't have any input into this.
Under the planning form of government, the manager, that's his jurisdiction.
Well,
And somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
well, this contract expires at the end of December, right? And I was just curious to know what we're looking for. What are they willing to give us? What, we can't get into it. I think that this council should be informed and be brought up to speed. So we're going to be judging it when it comes before us. Wouldn't that be too late?
We can either accept or reject the contract.
I just thought we
Like
should be
any-
a part of what's happening, but I guess under this planning form of government, we can't be.
Well, I think one of the issues here, Councilor, too, is that the Lasher is within the jurisdiction of the Arena Commission. And certainly I've been involved as manager with discussions with the Arena Commission. There is an RFP that's out on the street. We're seeking proposals. It's a quite comprehensive document. We can certainly make copies of that available to the council. And, you know, if there are ideas that individual councilors have, certainly feel free to. I've already had, actually, a couple, I believe it was one councilor that got me some input from a youth organization in the city that had some ideas. And, you know, we'll take any ideas we can, but there is an RFP already out on the street, but we can certainly.
So are they paying us now $25,000 a year, or is it $40,000?
I think it's $40,000.
$40,000.
It goes towards capital.
Okay.
It goes right into the
And
capital account.
they have a private company that comes in and does the field work for them?
I believe it's a combination of employees and a private company.
But the city does not do any of that?
That's correct. No.
But that's the present contract.
That's
Yeah, the present
contract.
one.
Right.
So we have no input, so
Well,
when it comes before us, we could reject it, though, or we could
Sure.
Definitely.
send it back and say we're not happy with
And
it.
that goes with any contract the manager brings before this council. Accept or reject. Yes.
Are we getting somewhere with it, or?
well, it's hard to say because we haven't even received the proposals yet. All that's out on the street right now is a request for proposals. There was a pre-bid conference at the ballpark yesterday, and we had a couple of people there that are interested in submitting a proposal, and we understand there may be one or two others that were not there that might be interested in submitting a proposal.
All right, thank you.
So, and again, I'm
Let me-
more than happy to get a report to you on that.
Councilor Kozancian.
Thank you, Mayor. We never saw the SMG contract because that contract was under 3 years, and
Correct.
supposedly, is this going to work the same way with the Spinners?
Well, again, I think we should be careful here. We're not talking about a contract with the Spinners. We're
Well, I'm
talking
just
about
saying,
a contract for the Lasher Field.
If a contract went out for 2 years for the Lasher Field, would we see that contract, or would the Arena Commission have permission to?
That would not require I'll defer to the,
The difference here, I think, is that with SMG, you were dealing with a service contract. Here, it's more of a pure lease. and leases of property generally come to the council.
So regardless if it's a year or 2 years, we would see the contract?
Yes.
Okay. Because I asked the manager the question about the SMG contract. We never saw it, and I guess it has to be 3 years or more for it to come to the city council. Anything under 3 years or 2 years, the Arena Commission has the authority to sign on it.
Right.
And is that something that can be changed because if I saw that contract, I'm not sure if I would agree to that, where we get the same company back into the arena, and we have the same situation that's been going on, and their progress is actually decreasing instead of increasing. So, I mean, is that something we can vote here on the city council? Does that have to go to the legislature? How does that work?
We have this meeting with the Arena Commission,
Yep.
we could bring that forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
It's not-
I would say that in addition to state law, it is state law as to what comes before the council and what doesn't. There's general state law, and then there's special applications under the form of government that we have here in the city.
So do we have to petition the state delegation if that was going to be changed? Is that how it works?
It'd
We vote
be
on it
unlikely
and-
that they would,
You'd have
you
to
would
amend
have to,
Plan
but it would be
E.
unlikely that would.
Yeah, you'd have to amend Plan E, and
Right.
that's a whole different ballgame.
Right. It's a whole charter
Am I right?
change.
Whole charter change.
And that's a nightmare in itself.
Well, you'd have to put on a ballot, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Council Broderick?
Thank you. I just wanted, I was going to, Councilor Kazanjian just clarified it. Regardless of what the contract is, length of term, it's going to come before us for a vote, correct? And you said yes?
Yes.
So basically, it's going to be like the union contracts. We can ask for an update. Is there progress? Is it moving along?
Right.
Because people at home do want to know what's going on. And I think it's good to get an update in terms of, yeah, there's progress. The RFPs are in. There's 2 bids, 3 bids, whatever the case may be. Obviously, we can't direct and tell you what to do. It's the Arena Commission and your office that are putting the deal together. But we will have the ultimate decision of whether to approve it or not, because it is a tenancy as opposed to a service.
I think what Manager Lynch can allow by law, I think he can inform the council, but there's a fine line there that he's in negotiations with a particular organization, and that's where they remain, and that's where they stay, and we can't go public with it and can't go to the council. So, but once it's formalized and once it's before us, then we have that right to vote it up or vote it down. So, okay, you all set with that motion?
Yes.
Okay. A motion by Council Martin. City Council requests the city manager have the property department prepare a report on the status loans in city-assisted housing programs such as 2 for Lowell, Project Genesis. First-time homebuyers report should include the number of families assisted, percentage of loans at default, and percentage of loans foreclosed. Motion seconded by Council Armin Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason for this motion is, my suspicion is on the various projects that the city provides assistance to first-time home buyers is that we have not had a large number of foreclosures. I think that's, but I don't know that for certain. I think anecdotally that's what I'm hearing. So I'd like to know that for sure. And the reason for that is I think given the number of properties we have in the city, but generally throughout Massachusetts that are being foreclosed, I think we have a pretty good story to tell here in the city as to the work we've taken, with first-time home buyers primarily, but not exclusively, and given some folks some assistance. They've generally done well by that and done well by the city, and it's benefited, I think, the city by stabilizing neighborhoods. It's benefited those people who've got assistance through those programs. I think the education program that Project Genesis runs, I think, is one of the untold success stories in the city. So I think it would be good for the council to have that information, but I think the real reason I want to know is I think there's an opportunity for us here to potentially expand some of what we're doing. No one really knows what's going to come out of the various bailout proposals in Washington, but I think certainly assistance for folks that are facing foreclosure or that maybe lost their home but now are ready to go into another home is going to be part of that. And I think if we can position ourselves as kind of an example of a community that's got its act together, that's been doing this for a while, that's had a track record of 10 or more years of success, that we might be well positioned to attract some of that federal money that's inevitably going to come. So that's the reason for the motion. I think the report in and of itself would be some valuable information to the council, but the real motivation, I think, here is to position us to potentially benefit more of our residents when some of these details get refined on what assistance is going to be available in Washington.
It's a good motion, Council, and probably a month and a half ago, we had this public forum with 5 of the banks in downtown Lowell, and they're very solvent, and they let the public know that, and this is a real good motion, and I think this information is very valuable to us. Councilor Milanazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is a very good motion, and I just want to kind of follow up and say that, as all of my colleagues know, we have been working through a foreclosure prevention task force, which the city does have representation on, and a number of lenders as well. And there is information in our packets this evening from the city manager regarding the monies from the federal government, and hopefully we'll be getting $2.4 million. The HCD, which will actually be working on the neighborhood stabilization program, will actually be reviewing an application from the city, hopefully in January of 2009. So as a follow-up to Councilor Martin's motion, we should have, and hopefully we'll have, an additional almost $2.5 million worth of funds that can be used for a variety of programs that could supplement some of the programs that he actually did list in his motion. And those are all listed in this communication from the city manager, so it's a timely motion.
And that public forum that they have with the banks, Washington Savings, Butler Bank, Lowell 5, GenDoc Credit Union, Enterprise Bank, it was watched throughout on LTC, and everyone was thoroughly informed about the stabilization of the banks. Anyone else have a question? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to the motions by Councilor Kazanjian. City Council requests the city manager to report on the financial status of Trinity Development and the Hamilton Canal project, seconded by Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it pretty much speaks for itself, Mr. Manager. I just heard rumors out there that Trinity lost $25 million funding through Bank of America, and I just wanted to find out from you what's happening there. Are they still on board, and are they still solvent as far as their financial?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and we're supposed to start in springtime, is that correct?
The plan is still to start in the springtime. There's we've had several meetings with the state, with the help of Senator Panagiotakis and other members of the delegation regarding accessing certain infrastructure funds as well as other monies that were set aside for the smart growth districts. And those discussions are ongoing. They're very positive discussions right now, and obviously it's a tough market right now, but the nature of this project is such that this, particularly the first phase, is that it's well positioned right now. So obviously, I think we've all learned over the last couple of months, you watch and see what happens.
Absolutely.
But I'm still very positive, and I think that the project will be moving forward.
Well, that's good to hear. Can we get some type of report as far as time frame? I know it's springtime, but it's just...
Yeah, it's tough to be exact on some of that, but when I say exact, because things do change from time to time, but I can certainly get you a report that gives you some sense of where things are heading and what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. I think it's a good motion, and I was going to see if I could maybe add to it in that we maybe get a monthly report in terms of the status, because this is supposedly a 10-year plan. And I think it's in this economy, it's important to find out and be aware of what's going on financially, and is the project still viable, and how well it's doing or not doing. But also, if we maybe set up quarterly economic development subcommittee meetings where we can, I think it's going to be important to have good communication. We have federal, state, municipal involvement and one private developer and potentially a second on the Freudenberg building. So I think if the city's going to be involved in the infrastructure pursuant to the PDA, then I think we need to know what's going on, and we need to make sure that if there's assignments and different people are going to be responsible, that the state knows. We want our delegation to be up to speed. They need to, they're the ones going to be hopefully pulling for us and getting the money for the project to get started. So I think that it's important, besides just the money aspect, is for everybody to know what's going on, and also establish a bit of a paper trail here as we get into this 10 years from now to find out, as things develop and reserving rights and so on, so we know exactly, what's going on, and we're on top of it from the city side. But I think it also can serve as is maybe a method of keeping everybody up to speed on the same page. We don't want to hear that the delegation didn't know something, or we certainly don't want to be asked questions from people on the street that know more information than we do. So I think it's important if we get a monthly report and perhaps a quarterly subcommittee meeting to review the finances, obviously, but also the progress and where we're at and what's planned out for the next 3 months. So we're constantly on top of this thing.
Attached to the motion would be a monthly report.
That's fine. That's an important add-on. It sounds good. We as much information as we can get is always a plus.
Wonderful. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion's been adopted. Next motion by Councilor Kazanjian. City Council requests the city to develop a strategy for immediate action for the homeless in the city. Seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I do realize you have a 10-year plan on the homeless, and you've got a commission set up and working on that very, very tirelessly and hard. There's no question about it. This came about with me probably, I think it was last week, and I received a phone call from a Lowell Sun reporter about tent city that was down along the Concord River Way, and asked me if I was involved in moving that, which, by the way, I was not. But it also has been brought to my attention that the University of Lowell professor, Bob Ferrant, had put something in one of the blogs, which and I'm going to read it because it was kind of disturbing and a tasteless joke regarding that homeless article that was in the newspaper. And Mr. Ferrant states that in one of the blogs that the Lowell 10 were last seen packed on the back of a tow truck heading to Tewksbury, which, to me, that's, these people are down and out, either with any type of drug or alcohol addiction, or just down on their luck and just happen to be there. So an educated professor that puts something like that and creates trying to make a joke out of people that are down and out is very disturbing to me, and I don't think we should put up with something like that. And if Mr. Ferrant wants to put energy in a blog, he should come up with some type of solution instead of making jokes about the homeless. I mean, we have to do something with these people. At this day and age, we have people living in tents. I mean, do we have any vacant buildings that we can house these homeless? I know the shelter's full and they're not accepting any more people. Is there something we can do? As you know, winter's coming along. It's 20 degrees now, and come January it's going to be below 0. And these people can't be living on the streets, and we have to do something because we're going to find someone hurt or pass away from the cold. So what can we do, Mr. Manager, if you can
Sure.
get any ideas? Or
Well, I can tell you this. It is, as I think everybody here knows, the issue of the homelessness is a very complex one, and it's difficult on a number of different levels, and that's why we have embarked upon that 10-year plan. And I mean, a lot of people, when that was first announced, and the City of Lowell is certainly not the first community to do this. It's a nationwide program. Cities much larger than Lowell have done this, are working on this, and the federal government has endorsed this. the notion of eliminating homelessness was seen as being impossible. I think the sense is that it is possible and it's desirable on a number of different levels, including the financial implications of what it has for the government, for society to have people be homeless, but also it's the right thing to do. But it is complex, and to even say that we're going to do it over 10 years is a challenge. To say we can, make it go away immediately is very impossible. But I think, Council, you're right on target with the challenge that we have right now with the winter protocol. The Transitional Living Center had indicated that they would not be able to take people in this winter under their winter protocol. That they would set up additional beds to bring people in, and there's a real hazard there to those people. Because of that, that notification to me, and this it's all sort of coming together at the same time. But because of that decision that the Transitional Living Center made because of finances, I called together a meeting, which we actually held today, that included the Transitional Living Center, as well as a number of the other social service agencies, the medical institutions in the city, the 2 hospitals, the community health center, the police department was there at this meeting, and we discussed the problem that we have. Last year we had a number of people that at any given time needed to go into the center to get out of the cold. This year, because of funding problems, that was not going to happen. As a result of today's meeting, the Transitional Living Center is going to initiate a winter protocol once again this year, probably starting in December, early December. It will carry through December, January, February, March, possibly into April, as they have in the past. It does require that there's going to be additional monies raised for the Transitional Living Center. Working with CTI, who was also there today, we are going to be working with the state, contacting the state to see if they can free up some money to help us with this issue. And there's going to be there's a group of people that are working on some fundraising and financing options to see what type of money can be made available so that the center can continue the winter protocol beyond December. Right now, they're only committed to doing it in December, so we'll be moving forward to make sure that that's available all through that. Ultimately, the idea or the solution to the homelessness problem, as indicated in the 10-year plan work that's already been done, is really making new housing opportunities available, and that's known as Housing First. And that requires an allotment of federal money, allotment of state money, and we have a group that's working on that right now to develop that. But the immediate problem that you've so aptly described is that there are people out on the street right now that are potentially going to not freezing tonight perhaps, but in another 2, 3, 4 weeks there's some real risk there. And hopefully we'll have some more answers on that within the next 3 to 4 weeks, and I'll be able to provide a more definite report to the council.
Okay, thank you. And I also mentioned Tewksbury State Hospital. It's not to move them out of the city. Yeah. I just think that's a perfect facility. They have beds, they have detox center there, they have land, they have. I think it's a great opportunity for the individuals that are down on their luck, and you could probably reach out to the LRTA and transport the people back and forth. And that was my reasoning. But if we had something in the city of Lowell here, I would definitely say, hey, let's do it in the city here. But I don't think we do have anything. And reaching out to the federal government with Congresswoman Nikki Songas or the state delegation, I think is very important. Maybe they can help out with some grant money or some type of funding and come up with some ideas to make this work for these people. Because, like I said, another 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to be very difficult out there. Not that it isn't now.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's cold out there now. A great testament to that Saturday, standing up for the Salvation Army was, I don't know how anyone can live under a tent in this cold weather. I just don't know. And it's sad to say, there's some of those people who don't want to go into a shelter. They'd rather sleep, under the stars. And it's cold. It's very cold. So it's a great motion, Councilor.
One other thing, can we get reports from the commission on how How often do they meet?
Just on we have several commissions related to this, the Hunger Homeless Commission,
Yes,
and there's
yeah.
the 10-year plan.
Right, can we get,
commission.
whenever they meet, can we get a report on that?
We can get some regular reporting to the
Okay,
council on
great.
that.
All right, great.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion by Councilor Milonazo. City Council requests the city manager to have the proper department investigate additional street lighting on Douglas Road near Coley Stadium, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia.
The motion speaks for itself, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, get
I have a
those,
half-hour dissertation on my next motion, though.
get those lights erected immediately. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The last motion of the evening by Councilor Milonazo. City Council requests the city manager have the law department review the summable responsible employer ordinance and investigate possible use in the city of Lowell, seconded by Councilor Bill Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've actually been working with the city manager's office and the law department, obviously through the manager's office, on looking at a responsible employer ordinance, and I did get a report back a year or so ago from the city manager's office that it really wasn't something that was prudent for the city to look at this time. I have, however, been sent a copy of a recent ordinance approved by the city of Somerville, which I think is a little less onerous than the one that the law department did review a year or so ago. So what I'd like to do, with the approval of my colleagues, is to take this ordinance and give it to the manager's office, obviously to give to the solicitor's office to be reviewed and report back. Because a number of cities, be it Cambridge, Boston, Springfield, Fall River, Worcester, all have responsible employer ordinances, and I always like to think of Lowell as being kind of on the cutting edge of innovative ideas. So I think it's something that we should continue to look at and review. And the fact that Somerville just, in my opinion, approved a less onerous ordinance, I'd like the law department to take a look at it.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Before we have a motion to adjourn, I just have a little housekeeping to do here. On Friday, November 28th at 7 p.m. at Major's Pub, there will be an event honoring the memory of Andy St. Onge. So anyone who would like to attend, you feel free to do so. It's 7 p.m., Major's Pub, Friday, November 28th. Okay, and the Lowell High School football game is Thursday, 10 a.m., Coley Stadium, playing Haverhill. Like to see everyone there. Breakfast, yes. And there's a fundraiser. I'm getting ahead of myself. The City Lights Parade is Saturday, November 29th, from 12 to 8. And we were encouraging people to come downtown, stroll downtown. There's going to be some art exhibits and so forth. And the parade will start at 4 p.m. sharp on Jackson Street. So I'm just letting you know now that be there, get in that parade. There's going to be 44 different units, marching bands, floats, etc. And Santa Claus will be there as well. And we're inviting everyone in the city and Greater Lowell to come down to that great parade. That night, there'll be a fundraiser at the Bunting Club to raise money for the Lowell High School football scholarships. It will be held at the scholarships, held at the Bunting Club, and you can get tickets at the door. And with that said, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. Thank you.